What's up, pizzas? Corey Vincent here, and this is a cold open to the Video Game Bang podcast. What is going on? This is new. This is fun. I just wanted to pop on here and say thank you to everybody who showed up to Oblivion Comics and Coffee last weekend for May the 4th, aka Oblivion Comics and Coffee's second year anniversary, where we hosted trivia to a packed capacity crowd. Thank you to everybody who showed up, from the SAC PC Gaming Group, the Filmlosopher podcast, JoJo Has Fun, tons of amazing people, Capital Fight District. Can't thank you guys enough. It was so much fun, and we can't wait to do more of these. If you are in NorCal and want to come hang out with Video Game Bang, keep it locked on here, and we keep you guys up to date on when our appearances are, and it's just so much fun. Special shout out to Ryan and Jordan, some really cool dudes. Next, I got to thank everybody who showed up to the San Francisco Shock watch party at Cal. Geez, where do you even begin? The San Francisco Shock, congratulations on going on a perfect 7-0 record with perfect map score, 28-0. History has been made. We're calling it the golden stage. There was over 500 people in that audience. I got to MC it, and I've never, ever done anything like that. It was hype. I cried. I laughed. It was incredible. I thank everybody there who was so positive and nice to me. And the crew who put everything together, the San Francisco Shockwaves, it was incredible. But needless to say, after that huge weekend, Video Game Bang needed to take some time to recharge our batteries, but we're not going to leave you hanging. What we're going to do is we're going to drop this spoiler episode of an Avengers review we recorded a couple weeks ago for the Patreon exclusive people. Thank you so much. If you subscribed to our Patreon in the last month, we've been kind of overwhelmed by the amount of people who have jumped up to support the show. And if you're out there and you've enjoyed the show for a couple months, maybe a few years, and want to help out, you get a bunch more content for just $1 a month. You get access to shows like what you're about to hear. So, like I said, spoiler alert, turn back if you do not want to have Avengers Endgame spoiled. We thank you so much for your support. Enjoy the show. All right, we're going to do it live. What's up? Okay. Video Game Bang Patreon exclusive. You know the people. Curtis,
Patreon
David,
exclusive.
Emma,
What's up?
Corey.
Hello.
We all just saw Avengers, just like I hope anybody listening to this has seen it, because this is all spoilers.
Massive
spoilers.
100%
If you have
spoilers.
not seen it, turn back right now.
And this is a movie you got to talk to people about. Like, I was so immediately when I was done, I messaged everybody, who's seen it? And luckily, I look behind me, and Curtis is in the next row.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I get to see Curtis, so then we get to rap about it a little bit outside, and then we go our separate ways. And then I've been wondering what you guys have been thinking the entire time. So where do we even begin?
I don't even know.
Oh man,
Where do you start to talk about this?
where do you start to talk about the end?
We could start. Yeah, you want to go straight to the end?
No, I'm
just
just
the
saying
end
like
of an
the
era.
end of an era.
Oh, the
like
end of an
how do
era.
you start talking about the end? Like
You start with the beginning.
okay, so 2008, Iron Man 1.
So it started. I feel like we've talked about this before, where like we talked about Infinity War and we talked about bringing Hawkeye back in. And I've said this in the beginning. I was like, I know exactly how they're going to bring him in, because what
my God,
happened
yeah.
was that I bet you he was sitting down with his family. They all disappeared. He had no fucking clue what had happened, and he just freaked out. And that's exactly what happened.
And that
Yeah.
scene, it was like an emotional roller coaster, but like one of those roller coasters where like you go up and you don't even get a pause, you just instantly drop, because it opens with like the knocking of an arrow, and you instantly know, okay, it's Clint, this is Hawkeye, oh no,
Yeah.
because like Emma said, you know exactly what's about to happen, and it's just like, like that was just,
It was a great prelude
it was
to what we were gonna do, because time has passed since we left off with
22
Avengers.
days.
And they didn't assume that you'd seen all the other movies, so they wanted to get you back in that mindset.
Yeah.
And I think it did, and they did a good job of getting you straight in the tone of like, we're back and people are sad.
yeah.
Everything is fucked up. Everything's bad. Everything's
everything.
wrong.
And they did a great job building that for, like, I would say the first act of the movie is just very doom and gloom. We've lost, like, gripping onto that last, like, okay, like, do we know where Thanos is? Like, we do. Let's go get those Infinity Stones and let's go kick some ass. And then they get there, and only for it to be like, for not, because he destroyed them.
Yeah, they're ready to have a big climactic battle scene in the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
I know. I was like, oh shit. Here
we can't
go.
skip through. Okay, first of all,
Let's rewind a little bit.
Start this thing off by saying Robert Downey Jr. is a national goddamn treasure.
He is now.
He
Did
acted
wonders for his career.
Yeah. Avengers as a whole has just done crazy stuff for his career, and then him himself just proving how good of an actor he was in this. He just stole just about every scene he was in, and made you feel exactly what. Even from the collapse, a little bit later, just he played it, and then being a loving father. Love You 3000.
Playing finger football with
Nebula.
Like teaching him.
What was weird to me about like the whole ship sequence was, first of all, that Captain Marvel just found him out of nowhere. Like, no explanation for how she did that. But they didn't put the scene from her end credits in the movie. You have to have seen that end credit scene to have any idea what's happening. Because otherwise, she just fucking shows up out of nowhere.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, from
they didn't. They're like, if you haven't seen this, you're fucked, because we're not explaining who she is or how she got here.
That's right. How did you feel about the utilization? I was going to ask this to Emma. I was thinking about that the whole time.
I was mad. And I knew it was going to happen because I'm assuming you're going to ask me about Captain Marvel. And how they how they utilized her, or rather how they didn't.
Yes.
And so, because when I saw Captain Marvel, or actually going back to Infinity War, when you see Infinity War and you see the beeper, I was like, that's it. That's how this movie's gonna go. She's gonna save everybody because she's gonna fucking kick ass, and like she's gonna fix everything. But the first time, well, I guess not the first time. When you see her in the movie, first of all, she has the haircut, which I loved. I was very excited to see her haircut.
Later on she
later
does.
on, in the 5 years later.
Does, yeah.
And she has the sash.
Yep.
But they do the whole scene where there's all the holograms and Nat's talking to everybody, and she says to Captain Marvel, she says, "So can we expect you here next month?" And Captain Marvel says something to the effect of, "No, there's a lot of shit going on in other places. You're probably not going to see me for a long time."
Yes.
And as soon as she said that, I was like, they're going to bench her this whole movie. Are you kidding me? Are they really going to? And then they did it. And she doesn't show up for another 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Which I would say it's definitely bullshit that they benched her.
No.
But the explanation made sense because it really brought into the idea that this isn't just Earth. This is all over the galaxy. And she even says, like, the other planets don't have the Avengers.
But, like, they did it just because she's super powerful and they don't know how to deal with that.
No,
100%.
They do not know how to deal with how powerful she is in the MCU.
I don't know about that. I was happy. I was so happy that with how they used her character in this movie.
I'm sure you were.
Because this was not her fight. This was Tony and Captain's movie. Like, they needed to be the ones to go through and hash out the end of their storyline and do get their asses beat a little bit of ass. And if she would have just came in and saved everybody, it would have like thrown out, I think, a lot of character building in all the movies. Like, she's obviously just getting started. So whatever the next arc is beyond Infinity Gauntlet, she's gonna be the next Cap. Like,
I get that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I actually agree with you on that. Like, it makes sense for it to be Cap and Iron Man's fight and all of them. But if you're going to frame the end of Infinity War, Nick Fury's last act, the last thing you see him do is call for help from this woman, and then you're gonna bench her the entire time that she's actually there, was a weird choice to make.
I would agree.
But the moment she did show up, she was definitely given the
which
protected.
I think is the problem. Like, she came in and she decimates a ship that was just destroying the world. Like, they don't know how to deal with that kind of power in a long form story. Like,
right.
how do you put her up against any of the things they went against? Because she'll just fucking decimate everything in her path.
Yeah.
And I honestly forgot about her until the very end when they raised the we're skipping all the way to then when they raised the cannons after shooting down there.
And they're firing into
the clouds. I honestly didn't have any idea what it would be. I heard
I knew it was
one
her.
one theory was like, oh shit, is this the Nova Corps? Like, are they coming? And then it was when she flew through. Like, you see that that streak. I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot Captain Marvel.
Me too. Yeah, I was pretty
Game
stoked.
over, Thanos.
So, I think she was underutilized for the pedestal they put her on to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's
because she was the final act, the last call for help in Infinity War, and then to just bench her the entire rest of the time, I was like, oh well, Okay, cool. Guess we didn't need her.
What do you think of Captain Marvel and Infinity War, Curtis?
I loved her in the movie.
In Endgame?
Yeah, in Endgame. Yeah, same thing. I think it was a good storytelling. That I'm trying to look at it as a whole, because I the way I view it, this was everybody's fight, and I feel like they used everybody really well. I think if you're looking at storytelling, like a key element is to introduce something, and then you remove it from from the story. You let it play out more, and then you bring it back for that moment. I felt like they did a really good job with it, and especially like what else it led to at the end with what would be A-Force.
With the A-Force.
Right.
Oh my God,
I felt like they
Lost
did.
my mind.
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna get that in
How do
this
you
movie.
get through that alone? She won't be.
Right.
And then like
She'll
all the
have help.
badass women.
Yeah, it was like what they did in
People are mad
Infinity
about that
War and
scene.
Of course they
Wakanda,
are.
but
Yeah.
times 10
Oh,
in
yeah.
this. And I thought it was a really great setup. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so now we could kind of continue. I was just because since she didn't play a factor, we might as well get our thoughts on the Captain Marvel stuff out.
So I liked that they did that time jump. So you see them. So Tony gets back to Earth, and he's pissed at Cap still. He's like, what the hell? Like, you said we would do this together, and we weren't. You weren't there, and I needed you, and you weren't there. And I told you we needed an armor, around the world. I told everybody that, but you guys made me out to be the villain. And now look what happened. He's already suffering from oxygen, deprivation.
And starvation.
And
he's just emaciated.
he's lost like 200 pounds, and he's basically a skeleton, and he just fucking rips the art, the nanite housing.
Which answers our question that we had been discussing earlier on whether or not it was wearable or surgically implanted. As soon as he did, I was like, well, that answers that question.
Yeah.
I thought it was installed. I was like, oh, it's just Velcro. Okay, we're fine.
It's
We're
just
fine.
Velcro, Stark Tech
Rips out some
Velcro.
chest hair when
Yeah.
he pulls it off.
Well, then they they kind of get a semi plan. They think, let's go get the stones back and wish everybody back, which is what I think everybody thought was going to be. Okay, maybe not everybody, but me originally just leaving Endgame, that's what I thought. I was like, okay, now they got to go find Thanos.
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
You're
sorry.
mixing the two of them.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I was thinking like, okay, now they got to go get
Yeah.
it, and the whole plot's going to be them going back and trying to find Thanos and fighting amongst each other. But they get that's quick work.
Yeah, quick work. I like when they're in it and like, okay, Rocket said, all right, who here has not been to space? Don't throw up in my spaceship.
Dude, one of my favorite shots of the movie though was seeing because Captain America, imagine his journey from where he started, his time period,
Yeah.
and then to go to space, and then how they did that shot on his eye where you see
Yeah.
them going to hyper.
Yeah.
I thought that was just so well executed
good.
to see space through Captain America's eye.
Yeah, coming from 1945 to this, and they get there. Captain Marvel does scouting. She's like, "There's no defenses. It's just him. He's just chilling." So like, let's do it. Let's go down there. Let's get him. And then you come to find out that the stones are gone.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm inevitable. I'm always going to happen.
I use the stones.
I use the stones to destroy the stones.
Yeah.
And then Thor is just like pissed and just, first of all, chops his arm off because.
Which, where was that move before?
Well,
Okay.
That's the thing. It's,
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well,
And
he
then-
was. I mean, this is a different. This was Thanos. He was on his last legs. He wasn't fighting nobody.
Well, no, but hang on. But so you go back to Infinity War, and Thor comes at him, and Thor goes for his chest. Why didn't
Yeah,
Thor
but
go?
he threw it at him
Yeah.
though. He didn't. He didn't even have his hand on
But even
Stormbreaker.
still, like aim, 2 feet to the right, and take that arm off. And Infinity. Of course, he couldn't do it because he had to have the snap, so you can have the next movie. But yeah, so he chops the arm off, and then that's when you find out like it's like they're gone. This is not. And Thor's just like, boom, chops his head.
Were you guys surprised at that?
I was a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely.
I was not
surprised.
expecting that.
I wasn't.
No?
I wasn't
And,
surprised. No, because I watched the end of Ant-Man and I looked at my watch and it was 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not over yet.
Yeah, and I mean, we knew going into it, I think most of us knew going into it, that it was going to come down to time travel. It wasn't going to be about going to get Thanos. It was going to be about time travel because we just knew that's
Ant-Man and
set
Wasp.
pictures and
I
things.
knew-
That's where it was going to go.
I knew that was going to be the end. Like I knew them going up to Thanos. This is not how they're going to get to Infinity. I was surprised that he chopped his head off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like, there was
then,
no interrogation. There was no, like, we got to get more information. It was just, nah, we're done.
And
Well,
he-
yeah, well,
'cause he
there was
was.
nothing to interrogate.
Right.
The stones were, I mean, he told them, they were like, what happened with the stones? He was honest with me. And one of the things that I liked about this so much is the nerdy part is in the comics. I mean, I just finished reading Thanos Quest on my stream. And even in that, there comes a point where Gamora comes up, and it's a theme that they put in the movie. My father always keeps his word, and they had it in the movie too. So they even asked, he was like, "You're
Yeah.
lying."
She's like,
It's one thing about my dad; he never lies. And what happened in Infinity War? Remember when he was talking to Gamora? You know, generosity. I taught you that. Blah blah blah. I taught you that. But I never taught you to lie. That's why you're so bad at it.
Yeah.
Thanos keeps his word.
Yeah. That's one of the things that makes him such an insanely good villain. And it was proven here and then just throughout the last one. But he has what he believes is right, and he's going to make that shit happen. But to chop his head off mid-sentence was the jarring part.
yeah.
It was
Good.
Yeah.
Good writing.
And then they look. He goes, "I went for the head."
I went for the head.
and then Thor's just done, and he just walks out, which is a theme that we see throughout the movie. Is Thor just being done, which was confusing to me because it implied that like Thor was the reason they lost. Thor fucked up, and he was the reason
Well,
that they lost.
that's definitely what he thinks.
And that's what he thinks.
That's how
And
he took it.
I never understood why he thought that. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
Because
Thor-
he was the last line of defense. He was right before. If he had done one thing differently, if he had aimed a foot higher,
true.
none of this would have happened. And that's all that he's thinking about.
Yeah, because remember,
Yeah.
not only he went to Nidavellir to make the damn thing.
Yeah.
He almost died making it. He had to hold the thing
Yeah.
open while the star was shooting at him. All that stuff, it had to come back into his hand, so he would come. He used the Bifrost to get there, and then literally threw it in his chest and pushed it in there, all just so he can raise his finger and snap.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you'd feel like the failure.
And
Yeah.
Thor is such a proud character. Like, imagine all the like that's one thing that hit me. Like, that last battle,
Yeah.
where it's big. This huge
Yeah.
epic battle. Like, that's Thor's life.
Yeah.
When you show from him fighting the frost giants, like, his life is battle. So he was in his element there. He's won countless battles. He's one of the most proud. He's the Prince of Asgard. Like, he's a god.
He's lived for 1,500 years and killed twice as many enemies.
Right? Yeah, good reference.
And then he like you guys said, he fucked up, and a lot of people died because of it that he cared about.
Couldn't save his dad.
Yeah.
He couldn't save his mom. He couldn't save his brother. He couldn't save half of his people before Thanos even snapped.
Asgard,
Save his
he
best
already
friend.
lost most of his Asgardians.
Couldn't
that's
save his
right.
best friend.
Yeah, he's just he
He lost
failed.
everything, and then he failed.
Even having all that and understanding where Thor was coming from, I did not appreciate the 3-hour Thor fat joke.
Yeah, so
That wore off real quick.
So fast forward, so the movie does a time jump 5 years into the future. We see where the Avengers are now, quote unquote Revengers, where they are now, and you see Cap is leading a support group.
Yeah,
He's left everything.
he's
He's
left
left
everything.
the Avengers. He's not
And
doing shit with that anymore.
He's just gone. And
that was one of the Russo brothers too.
that
Yeah.
was one of the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
And Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos and Gamora and Drax. That was him with the glasses on.
Oh,
right
okay.
next to
Bald
him.
guy?
No way.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Damn.
sick.
I
Very cool.
squeezed
Okay.
so hard. I was like, oh my gosh, there's Jim Starlin, and I had the shirt that Ron Lim from Sacramento drew, and I was just like, oh my god, that's
cool.
amazing.
That's sick.
That's cool.
So yeah,
that they
Cap's
put him
running
in.
a support group,
Cap's running a
much
support
like
group.
Sam did before him.
like Sam did.
Taking a key out of his book.
And then we see Nat is the only one left at the compound,
Right.
and she's there leading what's left. So we have Rocket and Nebula as a team. We have
Rhodey, Captain Marvel,
and Black Panther. What was her name?
Okoye.
Okoye?
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the hologram.
Yeah,
when they-
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And like, we already touched a little bit about it. With Nat trying to figure out when Captain Marvel's gonna be back, and then that's when we find out about Clint. The rest of them leave. Like, they all have like their missions, and then the rest of them leave. And Rhodey's like, basically I found another pile of bodies, and it's getting worse. And she's like, just find them for me. I need to find them. We see Cap come back. They have their inner, exchange, and that's when we see that he's actually left because he comes back and she's like, you know, are you going to do your laundry? Like, and that just kind of implies, like, why else would you be here?
Right.
Kind of like, you know, when a kid leaves to go to college and he comes home.
I love their dynamic.
Yeah, their dynamic is great.
Yeah.
It's been great ever since
Winter
Soldier.
Soldier.
Like, they're just, like, tight.
We skipped a part with Ant-Man, though.
We did skip a part with Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Has he? Oh,
No.
he has come back.
Yeah,
he has come
he's
back.
back already.
It's in
'cause
the middle
true.
of that.
That's what
thing.
interrupts them is when he's on the front door.
He's on the
Yeah.
front
So
door.
the real hero of Endgame,
It's Mickey Mouse.
the mouse.
Right?
Mickey Mouse.
It's a rat. Thank you very much. It's a rat.
If that rat
no.
did not fucking hit that button, we would not be here today.
No,
Did you guys
he's
see
not.
the Easter egg in that shot?
No.
Did you?
I don't
was
know
expecting
if I
Curtis
did.
of everybody to see it.
What was it?
So it opens. The scene opens up on a storage unit, with all of Scott Lang's stuff,
Yeah.
and the storage unit says Lang on it, and then it says the storage unit number. The storage unit number is 616.
Oh, or it's
Oh,
616.
shit, there we go.
That
Nice.
was cool.
Pretty nice.
Little
That's-
thing. Yeah.
that's dope.
So Mickey
they-
Mouse walks over the button.
He's a rat.
turns
Rats are better than
on
mice.
turns on the quantum realm tunnel.
Yeah.
And Scott Lang comes out, hella confused.
Yeah.
Spits him out.
Yeah, he went in on top of a parking garage and comes out in a basement.
Yeah, wanders
5
through.
hours, quote unquote, later.
5 hours later, wanders through the town, trying to figure out what happened.
So this was my thing. Okay,
yeah,
half the world disappeared. I understand that.
half the universe. Remember,
Why
half the universe.
Half the universe disappeared. Why the fuck does the whole world look like a goddamn ghost town? Like there's not still hundreds of millions of people that live here.
I feel like that's
Like New York City looked like a ghost town. San Francisco, complete ghost town. All these places that are like the most populous places in America are complete ghost towns, even though there should still be millions of people around.
So-
When Scott goes through the neighborhood, he walks by all these houses that are abandoned. It look like they've been abandoned for 20 years. They're covered in
Overgrown,
vegetation.
yeah.
I'm like, motherfucker, you telling me the housing market didn't crash and everything's hella cheap and nobody bought those homes? I have logistical questions about
so
this.
the way
Yeah.
we had this conversation before, and the way that I kind of made peace with it was the fact that you got to remember that it was half the life in the universe, not just on Earth. So if you think about it like that, like there could be like in proportion to the other worlds where there's life on it, you know, the fact that it took out the number of people that came from Earth that were dead just
But that's statistically unlikely. It should be proportional across the board. If it's a simple random sample of the U.S., it should be statistically proportional across the board. I don't understand.
It's not across.
If it's supposed to be random, it should be.
I mean,
it's-
my favorite character from this movie throws a shield, and that shield does not obey the law of physics.
I'm just saying, this is ridiculous. That was what, like, honestly, it pulled me out of the movie. I was like, why the fuck does this look like it's the apocalypse? There are still 4 billion people that live on this planet.
Hey, you know what? There could have been a lot more that died though after that because of the
But they don't go
lack of
into
people.
it. They say
Well,
nothing
of
about it. I don't
course.
understand.
Because
I have logistical questions.
You know
That's all
what?
I'm saying.
Here's why. Here's what I can tell you what
Thanos
happened.
is a motherfucker. That's
You know, there's tons of houses and stuff, you know, and then if the people go away and people move up to the nicer houses, there's half places that are not lived in. So
Yeah.
there's going to be poor areas where just people don't go or they don't pay people to
But
go
that
mow the
wasn't
lawns.
a poor area. That was a nice suburb in San Francisco.
I was just trying to play devil's advocate. I have no answer.
So let's
But
just
I think one thing to move on back on track is
Yeah.
that I don't like Ant-Man, my least favorite franchise of the entire thing, and this movie somehow made me care about Paul Rudd's Ant-Man. And that was the first time I did shed a tear was his reunion with his daughter.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I cried my eyes out. I was so happy. Cassie's still alive.
And they found a way to age her in proportion to the rest of the franchise, so like
Yeah.
she could actually start doing stuff. And
She looks, it like took me a minute. I was like trying to think, I was like looking at baby Cassie. I'm like, how the fuck old is that girl supposed to be? Because this girl looks like she's like 17.
Yeah.
And it's been 5 years.
It's only been 5
That little girl
years.
did not look 12 years old. So the actress, I guess, is 16 years old. But even like little baby Cassie didn't look 11. But I don't understand children.
And
I
Ant-Man
don't,
and the Wasp.
I don't understand how.
I don't understand
I don't
tiny
understand children. I don't know how old she looks because if they're less than like 13 years old, they all
Yeah.
look 5 to me.
yeah.
Jesus.
I don't
accurate.
understand.
And,
Accurate.
and at this point too, Scott still doesn't understand fully
What happened.
I think
In
that's
his-
where he gets the download probably.
he gets the download from Cassie, and then we cut back to Cap and Nat, back at Avengers, Avengers compound, and here comes Scott ringing the doorbell. And his typical, like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I fought you guys back in,
So throughout all of this, he's done a week-long road trip
Yeah.
in a shitty van to get from San Francisco to New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another logistical thing that we're just going to glaze over. And that's when he comes, he figures out, like, no, for me, it's only been 5 hours. Time moves differently in the quantum realm. What if we use the quantum realm to go back in time, do a time heist, and that's how we beat Thanos. We erase everything that happened.
I can't tell whether Paul Rudd's Ant-Man is smart or dumb. Like
He's a mechanic. He is a mechanical engineer major. Like, he is a smart guy. He's an
a
engineer.
very smart guy.
because it seems like he didn't understand a lot about the quantum realm and the time travel, and like he had to constantly be educated on.
To be fair, like, he's smart, but he's a different guy. Like, he's a mechanical engineer. He's not a quantum physicist.
He could build the thing to do. He could build the tunnel. But
he just doesn't know how it
can't.
works.
He doesn't know how it
necessarily.
works.
He doesn't know.
In the movie, I
science
don't
behind it.
even think he's an engineer in the movie. I think he's just.
He mentions it in Ant-Man.
In Ant-Man
when he
1,
when he gets out of prison and he can't find a job, he's like, I have a degree in mechanical engineering. I will be fine.
I have a
a
master's.
degree in
Yeah, he has a master's.
I have a master's
Okay,
in mechanical engineering.
mechanical engineering,
but not physics.
Okay.
that's a total.
So that's what I'm
Very
saying. Like,
different.
he's a smart guy, but he's not that kind of smart. He's a different smart.
And
Which
they,
is
and they
why-
make they make him dopey, and anytime someone's dopey, you
assume
always
they're stupid.
yeah, with like intelligence and
Personality.
two different things.
Which is why they need to go to the next scene
Tony.
Go get
to
Tony.
go get Tony. So we see Tony in his cabin on the lake,
Full dad mode.
retired dad mode.
We get our
comes
first
out.
look at the rescue helmet.
We
Oh,
see
yeah, that's
with
right.
Morgan.
So this
Morgan
was
comes out.
something that if you were not paying attention, and even if you were paying attention and you don't know what to look for, you would not have understood how Pepper showed up in a suit. Because I talked to my dad's girlfriend who went and saw this movie, and she was like super confused. She was like, I don't understand, how did Pepper have a suit? Where did she come from? What did any of that happen?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you saw that helmet that the little girl had in the beginning, and Tony says, that's an anniversary present that I'm working on for your mom.
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't connect that to anything. And
Yeah.
what you get is that he made a suit for Pepper, but if you don't know to look for that, you have no fucking clue how Pepper comes out of nowhere and has that suit.
Because they make it seem like it's just a toy or like
Right.
a
Right.
commemorative thing, and then because then at the end he even says like your mother never wears anything I buy her.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it was a full-fledged like Iron Man suit that he crafted her.
Which that kind of speaks to one of the complaints about the movie overall is that they spent a lot of time on some things and not enough time on other things.
Yes.
Well, there's a few things that I cannot fucking wait until we get a director's cut or like some
Yeah,
extra like some
because
deleted scenes.
Right.
Because I know for a goddamn fact there's got to be 2 scenes that got eliminated from this thing.
What do
Yeah.
you think?
One, Michael Pena had better been in that movie doing so like whenever he hit towards the end when they're like we have another time machine and you hear that like
Yeah.
I was totally expecting Michael Pena to bust out of the back of that thing and do like
Scott, man, this is crazy.
yeah so I know he's got to be in some deleted scenes.
Yeah.
And then the other one when they went to where Star-Lord was getting the thing.
Oh, Morag.
Morag.
Yeah.
The guy coming in to be like, who?
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
totally expecting him to come in there and catch Nebula and
Or just
Rhodey.
find Peter passed out on the floor.
yeah, and relive that
Korath the
moment.
Pursuer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimon Hansu's character.
Yeah, I was really hoping. So I there's gonna be a deleted scene with that.
So we got Scott, Nat, and Steve.
I'll go to see Tony.
They all go see Tony. They
Who's
see,
not about
know,
it.
And they pitch him the idea, and he goes, "Okay, first of all, like you should not be here, Scott. You got lucky. This is a suicide thing. It doesn't work the way that you think it does. This isn't back. Like I really hope you're not basing this on Back to the Future." And no.
I love the line later.
Yeah.
Saying that Back to the Future was a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, that was great. So basically, he's like, if you came in, he goes, I'm really glad to see you guys. I really am. If you ask me for anything else, it'd be done deal. But this is my second chance. I'm not going to ruin this. Basically, shuts them down. He invites them to lunch. Table set for 6. If you guys don't talk shop, you guys can hang out. But yeah. So then they go, okay, well, who else? Like, we need to figure this out.
Philosophically, though, I want to pause here.
Yeah, let's
Whose
talk
side?
about this.
Like at this point of the story, when the two options seemingly are leave things the way they are and move forward, or like go back and change everything where the last 5 years didn't happen. Because that seems like that was how Tony had taken it, and
exactly
he would have lost a daughter and things like that, and that everybody and all the things that have happened since wouldn't have happened no more. And I thought Iron Man was 100% right in this situation.
Yeah, it makes sense for him
100%.
because his basic thing is if we go back and change everything, I lose a daughter, I lose a wife. Who knows what stays the same and what changes, and I'm not willing to risk that.
Yeah,
because he's like, I understand that everybody else lost somebody, but I didn't, and I'm happy where I am, and I don't want to change it.
Where were you on that, Emma? Did you think that was the?
I think the logical
accurate?
decision is to help everybody else, but I understand from a personal perspective why he wouldn't.
And I think that really is in a nutshell Tony Stark. He's at like throughout the entire franchise, like since Iron Man 1, he's faced with this moral dilemma of like what's the logical thing to do versus the right thing to do. You know, and this really paints it for him. Like he risks his family, you know, to save other people's family, or he, you know, is selfish and he stays there and protects what he has now.
I don't know if it's like selfish is the right thing.
Not
because
selfish. Selfish is a bad word, but
no,
say,
I actually think that's the perfect word. I think that's
himself.
exactly what it is.
Because
he looks at everybody around the world and everything they lost, and he's okay with leaving that the way it is because of his situation. That's the definition of selfish. That doesn't mean it's a bad decision. That doesn't mean it's the wrong decision for him, but it is at its core a selfish decision to make. He won't even try to fix things because he's afraid of losing what he has.
I think the part, because I'm glad the movie plays out the way it does, but I feel like at this point, it's not just Tony who brought a new life into the world. Like, there's tons of other things that had happened to the people that were left over.
But that's not what he's thinking about.
But
I think to a degree, but that's what he stands for, though.
And
like he represents that.
To your point, Cap even says that back. Rewind back to where he's doing the support group, and he says like, "This is our reality now. This is up to us. We have to take this world in our hands, and we have to do the best with what we're given."
But that was when he thought there was no other option.
That's very true.
Faced with another option, he chooses to save everyone.
I think
a reoccurring theme that they seeded a long time ago was that Tony won't sacrifice. I mean, even back to Avengers, you know, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. You're not the guy to lay down on the wire and let all the other guys crawl over you. I think I would just cut the wire. You know, like he's always trying to solve things his way.
Yeah.
And Cap, you know, is like, you know, the first movie that Cap was in, the reason why they chose him for the serum, because, you know, Tommy Lee, throw it out there. Everybody get back! You know, all that. So Cap showed that from the first day, like, it doesn't matter how big or small, buff or whatever I am, like, I'll be the guy to sacrifice for everybody else to win. And Tony was not that. And I mean, we know as we go throughout the movie.
In the movie, it plays an interesting role in the rest of the movie. So, so they go, you know, we need another big brain.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, Tony's not the only one. So then we go see
Professor Hulk.
Oh, one of my favorite scenes of this whole movie.
I was totally not expecting that.
I laughed just as hard the second time as the first time. What did you guys think of that?
Because I thought we were going to get like a thing where we talk about what happened with the Hulk and why he was having trouble. And we don't like really address it much.
No, we don't. And that's true. That's another thing that I was like a little disappointed on, is I really wanted to know, like, I wanted to get into like what happened. And it kind of
how did he get from there to here?
Yeah, it just gets glazed over where you know, Banner or Hulk, whatever, both were, you know, saying like, this whole time I was thinking of Hulk as like this disease working against him, and I realized that I just need to accept it and join the two, the brains of Banner with the you know, bulk of Hulk.
Look, I'm wearing shirts now.
When does that ever happen? Like, you know.
It was cute. He was very clear. He was clearly happy. He was a happier person. You know, he was living his best life.
Hell yeah.
Taking pictures of kids.
Dabbing.
Like.
Hulk dab.
He
Dab.
did.
Hulk.
Listen to your mom. So they recruit him. They go back to the compound and they start working on time travel. How can they make this work?
Is this about the time we went and got Thor, or did we wait?
No, this is not yet.
Okay.
So, because Tony comes back before they go get
Does
Thor.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
fairly soon though, because then
Fairly
we could
soon.
kind of glaze over. I thought
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of the part where
Ant-Man is young and
a
old and a
baby,
baby,
and then he's old.
yeah.
I think it was important though because
Yeah,
it
totally.
really painted the picture that they don't know shit. They don't know what they're doing. And in the meantime, we flash back to Tony at his cabin. And he's like, you know what? He's like, Friday, let's just try this. Let me just try something. If it doesn't work, it's okay. It's just, and then he figures out time travel.
Accidentally discovers time
And he just
travel.
said, shit. Because now he knows, and he's faced with a dilemma that he takes to Pepper. Do I bury this? Do I just forget it and we're happy now? Like, a lot of people lost something, but we didn't. We're lucky. Do I risk that and just bury it? Or do I take this to them and do I help them? And she's very good at saying, this plays a role later on in the movie, you know, you could bury this. You could just forget about it, but would you be able to rest?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't because he knows. So fast forward, he arrives back at Avengers compound, and him and Cap have a good moment. They make amends with each other.
Gives Cap a new shield.
Gives Cap a new
has
shield.
again.
You know, and that's when he says, keep this quiet because I didn't bring anything for everybody. Or
Yeah.
bring something for everybody. He goes, we are getting the band back together, right? And he goes, we're trying. And then that's when you cut to Professor Hulk and Rocket, random pairing,
Yeah.
and arriving in New Asgard.
Yeah.
And which is cool. And I'm trying to remember, where did those Asgardians come from?
The ship. Because they split into two ships.
Oh, they did?
The Asgardians split into two ships. So the one that we saw destroyed was half of Asgard.
Right.
Valkyrie had the other half on a different ship that didn't get attacked.
Valkyrie, Korg, and Meat, they were
Yeah.
on a different ship.
I don't remember that because at the end of Ragnarok, they're all
They're
with
all
him
in the one.
in the one, yeah. But I don't remember.
At some point off screen, they split into two ships.
Okay.
You see
So-
some of you see what you call like little escape pods and stuff like
Yeah.
that too. At the very beginning of Infinity War.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things though. Like if first time around, you're just like, "What the hell am I looking
Yeah.
at?" And then you have
Yeah,
to look for
you
it
have to
next
look
time
for
you
it.
watch.
So we get to New Asgard on Earth. I'm guessing somewhere in
Norway.
like, Norway,
Yeah.
Iceland, and somewhere up there. And you see Valkyrie again, and
Yeah.
she's
Love
Love
it.
Tessa Thompson.
Love her.
It-
Love everything about it.
she's there, basically leading the village because Thor only comes down to
He's
resupply.
drinking
quote,
himself
unquote.
to an early grave.
And
Yeah.
so they go up, they talk to him. You
Thor
see,
is easily my least favorite part of the whole movie.
yeah,
What they did to Thor was the least, like, the more I think about it, the more like it actually annoys me. It actually makes me angry. What a way to turn one of your big three into a joke. And it's not even like, the joke isn't that he's fat. The joke is the way that he's treated and the way that he treats himself. And I was just like, I didn't need this. You didn't need to make this joke for 2.5 hours.
there is a joke at his expense that when we get to it,
There are quite a few.
No, I know, but there's one in particular that when we get to it, I guarantee you, Corey loved.
Oh yeah.
And I
already know what
yeah,
you're
you
talking
already
about.
know. So
Curtis, what do you think of what Emma had to say? I'm just curious from your perspective.
I mean, I enjoyed what they did with Thor more than I thought I would. At first, I was like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, I was like, how is this? What?
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Like when they got to Asgard and he got to see Frigga, I was done. I was
Yeah.
like,
That was a good moment.
that was a
between
good
them.
moment.
yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like I'm so close to my mother, and like I the relationship between a mother and a son, and he had lost his confidence because he felt like a failure, and she was literally the one that put everything, all of that right back into him. And she was real with him too, like a mom would be. She was like, "Nah, you're a failure. You screwed up."
But that's okay.
Yeah,
Everybody
all are.
is.
right.
Yeah.
I'm like that part that caught me, and the fact that was the thing that turned the tide for him, and and got his swagger back because the Thor that we got at the end
Oh, man.
was the God of Thunder.
Yeah.
I like the progression because there's a bunch of different iterations of Thor throughout the comic books. There's like the most common one is the long blonde hair and clean shaven. With
Yeah.
yeah, that's what,
things which we kind of got in the first one.
Yeah.
And then they kind of made him a little more rugged and lean and like thrown down. But there is that Thor that is more gritty with the giant beard, more of a Viking.
Mhm.
And
that's supposed to be more. Oh gosh,
Odinson.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
becomes
yeah,
Odin's
like
son.
truly Odin's son. Like
Yeah.
that's him, like basically accepting his position as Odin was.
Yeah.
You know, although he only did that for a moment.
Because that's
If
when
they like, if
Jane
they had
is Thor,
moved on,
he's Odin's son.
Yeah.
yeah, if they had moved on from the joke of it relatively quickly, it wouldn't have been such a problem. But he remained a joke all the way until the very end, and I just didn't like the way they framed it, and it felt like an insult to the character. Like, you have that shot at the end where it's the big three. It's them, walking side by side out onto the battlefield. Like, that's how important Thor is in this universe. And they just took him and they reduced him to a joke.
I mean,
love Thor.
me, I might be that much more okay with it because I read the unworthy Thor run that was going on while Jane Foster was Thor. So I read it and it was really good, and it was similar. Like, he had become unworthy. Like he couldn't even hold Mjolnir. He literally is on a quest. Like, it's funny that and they're starting to time them perfectly, but we remember in Ragnarok where Odin was like, "What, are you the god of hammers?"
Yeah.
Literally in the unworthy Thor comic, like, Frigga's not in it to give him that confidence. He's on like this crazy ridiculous suicide mission to get the ultimate Thor's hammer, because that's the only other one that's left. And he puts himself through the ringer through it, and he kind of learns similar lessons. Now he's not a joke in it. It's like very serious that he's unworthy.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
crazy.
you could have done that whole storyline with him feeling unworthy and him feeling like he had failed, and him even letting himself go. But if they hadn't treated it like a joke, I would have felt better about it.
Sure,
it was the fact that it was a piece of comedy. Like, like, he got that way because of trauma, and he's dealing with real trauma and real post-traumatic stress and like things that we're just not going to address because it's funny. Look at what he looks like now, so silly.
Right.
I was like, all right, I didn't need that. But so all that to say, like, Thor was easily my least favorite part of the whole movie.
So
I just disagree.
That's fine.
I think I like comedy Thor better, especially in the movies. I like the Ragnarok Thor so much better than the first two movies.
That's the difference
This is a
between
result of
that's the
that,
difference
for
between
sure.
Thor being funny and Thor being a joke himself. I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
The jokes being
I guess
something
I
that
can
he's
see that.
laughing at versus something that he's being laughed at for. Something that he's laughing with versus laughing at, whatever. Like, Thor is funny in that movie, but he himself is not necessarily the joke all of the time.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So we'll fast forward a little bit. So basically, they get the band back together, and they all get back. Oh, well, hang on. Let's Clint.
Oh yeah.
Nat sees Clint.
This is where you go to the
finds
bathroom.
And immediately
I
realized
loved this scene.
they could have found him and stopped him from killing people at any time. They just didn't want to. And I know you disagree with that.
I disagree with that.
But that's 100% what it is.
Agree to disagree. So
The second they decided they needed him, they found him in 5 seconds and went and got him. You could have found him at any time. I'm just saying.
the thing with this movie, there are like I said before,
plot
they
holes.
spent a lot of time on some things that they didn't need to spend a lot of time on, and they spent very little time on things that they needed to spend more time on to avoid plot holes. Therefore, there are some plot holes. There are a lot of assumptions that you have to make. But anyway, get Clint back.
Wait, assumption on Clint?
So
Because remember, they didn't know where he was. They were finding bodies after he killed people.
What I'm saying is, the second they decided they really needed him, they found him immediately.
my
They
thing,
tracked him
If
down.
they had put work into finding him, they could have found him at any point. But
So-
they didn't want to, and it wasn't necessary to the story, so they didn't. But the second they really needed to, it didn't take any time at all.
my thing is that it did take time because you
You assume it
go
took time.
Well, because you go all the way back to where Nat is talking to Rhodey, and Rhodey's saying, like, finding more bodies. It's just all of the the Mexican cartels, and I don't know if I want to find them. And she's like, please, you have to find him. He goes, Nat, like,
See, exactly. I don't even know if I want to find him, because he wasn't putting all his work into it because they didn't want to find him.
no,
And that's how you know.
because of the trail of bodies and blood that he's leaving. I don't know if I want to find out what's at the
And
end of
there's a
this
difference
trail.
between Rhodey going and getting him, who's still a government
And Nat going
employee,
and getting
versus
him. Yeah.
Natasha's going and getting him, who she works for a private organization,
But-
the Avengers.
Which at the same time, but like, that's the same concept. Like, if she'd wanted to find him, she could have gone and done it at any time.
So no,
She's
but that's
got
the
the
thing.
skills.
But that's the thing, though, is
and they didn't need him.
Right.
Yeah.
And
till-
she's saying, please find him. So
could've
then
done it
you
herself.
make the assumption that between that scene and then the scene when she goes and finds him, Rhodey has been trying to figure out where he's going to be next. Finds out. Nat goes and gets him because now they need him. They're getting the band back together. One of those assumptions that you just have to make. Emma doesn't want to make that assumption.
Is that there was some time in there
So-
that they didn't show.
Anyway, we get everybody back. We're all back at...
Can we talk about that heartbreaker of a line, though? Where, like, she tells him...
Oh, yeah.
She tells him that they have a plan, and he says,
Don't
don't
give
give
me
me hope. And she says, I wish I could have given it to you sooner. And I'm just bawling. that was a heartbreaker.
That was a good line.
It was
That
a good
didn't make me
line.
cry, only because I don't know.
I cried everything.
Yeah, I liked. I thought the sword play was
touching.
pretty badass. It
The
was
sword
very
was
touching.
cool.
Though.
The sword, like, seeing Clint, the way, like, just broken and just, like... And that's the thing, though, like, with what he became, made total sense to me. He lost everything, and he's sitting there, he's like, why the hell did my kids die, and you're still alive? You're a murderer. You're
a Punisher on him.
yeah.
Yeah.
He just went straight Punisher because there's no reason that you should be alive. My kids aren't. If my kids aren't, then you can't be either. And I can't say that I completely wouldn't have the same thought process being put in that position.
Yeah.
But anyway, so to get back to the Avengers compound, this is the joke that I was talking about that Corey probably loved is you see
The Big
Thor
Lebowski.
walking with the bathrobe, sunglasses on, drinking a beer, looking all shaggy, and Tony walks by like, look out, dude. Like, you know, I'm coming by or
Out of the way,
whatever.
Lebowski.
Out of the way, Lebowski. Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, that was that. Maybe that's why I liked the Thor thing, and I was able to look through it because
That was a recurring theme throughout that whole...
If I didn't have my beautiful, amazing wife Elizabeth to keep me, groomed and on the right track, that would be big mood all the time. It would just be beard, long hair, chips, dust, and beers and bathrobes. Like, I identify
Yikes.
with that Thor on a spiritual level.
He's your spirit animal. He's your Patronus.
That Thor is my Patronus. Yeah. So I liked that reference and and even like when he got drunk talking about old flames.
Oh, yeah,
and
talking
stuff,
about
which
Jane.
is like shortly after this talking about an old flame of his that he had,
Sit down, Thor. Sit down.
So,
You're
so
done.
yeah, so that takes us to like their plan. Okay, so their plan is they're going to use time travel. They're going to go back in time and get the stones before Thanos gets them, because at any given point in time, people in this room have come in contact with at least one stone. So let's go back, let's trace, figure out where each stone was and how do we get them, which I think that concept is a really cool thing to do, and it's a very, I would say, almost cliche idea, like trope for the ending of a movie, the ending of a TV series, the ending of a saga, is like, let's go and let's recap everything that we've been through. It's like going down memory lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they did.
And shout out to Natasha for being the one to realize, if I picked the right year, the Mind Stone, the Space Stone, and
The Time Stone.
the Time Stone are all in New York at the same time.
Yeah.
We could just do one trip.
Shut the front door.
Shut the front door. So that's the mission. So we have Tony, Steve,
And
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. I almost called him
and
Paul.
Ant-Man and Paul. Tony, Steve, and Ant-Man, Scott, they go to 2012 New York in the middle of
The Chitauri
and the Hulk.
invasion.
and the Hulk.
Oh yeah,
right,
the Hulk said.
and the Hulk.
Another fucking brilliant scene.
Yeah,
Him
he's like,
and the ancient one.
No, before that.
No, you
Hulk
might have
just
to-
like
Oh.
punching that thing.
Oh, yeah. You
Kind
might-
of tossing a motorcycle.
Because he got to blend in. So he's got to blend in with
you might
2012
want
Hulk.
to smash some things on the way. It's a little
And like,
derivative,
God
but
forbid
all right.
anybody sees his face because he looks completely different. He's got like the beard. It's like, if anybody
Yeah.
looks at your face, they know that's not you.
Rock.
So before we get to like before they leave and they're talking about time travel, this is where part of the movie starts to fall apart for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And it's where all
Oh, God.
movies that deal with time travel fall apart, is the explanation of how their time travel is going to work.
Yes.
And then fucking that up. Because they make a big deal. They are very clear. They spend like 2 minutes explaining to you and making sure it's drilled into your head. Every piece of media you have ever seen that involved time travel is wrong. Do not listen to it.
Yeah, Rhodey, Back to the Future, Terminator,
Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Like, him and Scar just naming all
Die
these-
Hard.
Die Hard. Wait,
No,
no, that's not one.
That's not one.
So they spend a lot of time making sure that you understand this doesn't work like Back to the Future. And this doesn't work like any of that shit.
And the way Professor Hulk explained it at the time made sense. So if you go back in time to then go and change something, you're leaving your past. Your past
You're leaving your present.
You're leaving your present. Your present becomes your past, and your past becomes your future. You can't change that past because it's already happened. But what you can do is change the future that you are now in. So you're not going to be like that's where it was like it got really confusing.
So which
it's something like I thought I understood. Like when I was watching, I was like, yeah, I get this.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
then I'm thinking about it later, and I'm like, I don't think I get this.
No,
because it didn't work out that way.
Because
I think that's part of the point, though. They all thought that they knew exactly how it was going to go,
but
but
it wasn't presented to the audience that way.
right. Which I mean, like,
Which makes it more difficult. Because what it looks like is that they tried to explain time travel, but they fucked themselves in the writing.
So they got the time travel thing we talked about like a week or two ago. Like there's 3 versions of time travel, and they usually correlate it to going back to kill your grandpa. That's the way that always helps me. So in one version, you go back to kill your grandpa, you do, and then you just vanish.
Right.
So that's changing the past and thus changing the present.
Yeah, so
And
that's not what we're doing.
Back to
That's what
the
we're not
future.
doing.
That's Back to the Future. We're not doing that one.
Instead, what they did is they did the multiverse theory, where you go back in time, and when you go back in time, even though they said this is not what they're doing, this is what they did.
But they never once say multiverse, alternate universe, anything. They never
the
once
ancient
go
one
Ancient
said
one
the
does.
time. She showed the time stream,
kind of
and then
explains
she
it.
kind of goes
Well,
there.
but see, but that's the thing, though. She didn't explain it the way Hulk did. That's what I'm saying. They
Exactly.
were conflicting, but that's what I'm saying, though. That like it wasn't. No one backed up what the other one said. Basically, they were all like, Ancient One said this. Tony said this. Hulk said this. Like that's what I'm saying. Like none of them were on the same page about. The only thing they were on the same page about is we got to try.
So I think that is a bad way to explain time travel. I think that's not a great way to write it because you end up with people that are all fucking confused coming out of that movie. I think it's a good way to cover your ass because no matter what somebody says, we're like, you got this wrong. They're like, no, actually it was this thing that we did. Like no matter what somebody says, you can point to something and be like, well, actually we didn't say it was one thing. But like it's a bad way to write it because nobody fucking understands what happened.
So this is my understanding of it because I spent some time. And so the whole ending part for Cap was to go put the stones back exactly as they were.
Right.
So that...
And Mjolnir.
And Mjolnir. So that things play out and that Infinity Wars happens so that Saga happens to basically complete a loop. And it does close off the loose ends because... you're just ensuring that everything that you had just done happens. You know,
but they still changed things.
What did they change?
He told himself that Bucky's alive. That changes things. That changes how Winter Soldier plays out.
When did he do that?
Cap when Cap is fighting Cap and he's getting choked out, he says Bucky's alive, and that's how he gets out. So now Cap knows pre-Winter Soldier that Bucky's still alive, which is something he didn't know at the time.
Right, but the argument could be made that
he didn't ever tell him.
He didn't ever tell him because they failed to get the Tesseract at that point. So then they go back even further. They get the Tesseract at that point. So then the Tesseract never ends up like.
And that ties into what?
No, because then he goes back to 1970.
Well, and then Thor talks to his mom. That's they all change shit.
That's the thing.
No, but that's the thing. When Cap goes back, he goes back before these changes happened. Before these branches, and then he puts things back so that they never happened. Just but like Endless One had said. Remember the branch comes off,
right? But that doesn't stop what they've already done.
Because what they've already done is now in that time stream. So the time stream is happening, and they've gone back in time to 1970 to get the Tesseract. We're skipping a bunch of things to get the Tesseract and the Space Stone.
Yeah,
and then, but the time stream is now. So even if Cap goes back to then to put the Space Stone back, the time stream is still messed up because then eventually in 2012 they're going to come back in time. Loki's going to get the Space Stone. They don't go back and fix that. They go back further. That's the thing.
It's confusing.
It's
definitely confusing.
The way that I understand that it worked is essentially, I think the easiest one is the Ancient One, because that was the only one where she literally just handed him the stone. So the way that interaction should work from her perspective is that she hands the stone to the Hulk, and then seconds later, Captain America hands it back to her.
In their timeline.
That's the way that's supposed to work, right?
Right.
So that doesn't change the fact that the Hulk came in and took it from her. It doesn't erase that he did that.
It's not supposed to.
No. It's not supposed to. So they don't erase anything that they did in that past.
No.
All those things still happened.
Right.
Cap still told Cap that Bucky's alive.
Right.
Thor still talked to his mother.
Right.
Like, they all change shit in their own timelines.
So the article I read,
Well, you're in their own timeline.
Well, in the overarching timeline, they all changed shit when they each went to their different places. They all messed with, because that was the thing. They were like, don't change shit.
But that doesn't affect their time though, and that was the whole point. Like, because that's why they didn't undo the last 5 years, and they just brought everybody back at that point there.
This is why it was written poorly.
So-
this is why
so-
the time, because we
hang
are
on.
having this conversation because it wasn't clear in the writing. It's kind of the point. That
And we're
I'm
still
getting
so fresh. Like, there's going to be, as these
This
questions, this isn't going to stay unsolved forever.
Right.
No.
Like, eventually the Russos will probably come out like they do for, like, every time there's a theory, they do a pretty good job of, like, explaining them. Like,
Well,
Groot
that's-
holding.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching it, I didn't feel confused.
I don't care,
I
yeah.
only
I
started
didn't either.
feeling confused
It
until
was
when I
until
started
after.
talking to
Right,
people,
exactly.
and then
Like,
I was
when
like,
I watched the movie, I thought
That's a
I
good
understood
point.
it, but
Yeah.
then you talk to other people who also think they understood it, but they understood it differently, and you have conflicting which one of us actually understood it, and
Right.
that's the hard part. So that
Which
when
is
we were
like the
talking
movie.
right after it came out,
Yeah.
like I was like, basically what it's going to come down to is I need to see this 3 or 4 more times, and I need somebody who's smarter than me to watch it and explain it to me.
you
So
could have just
I
asked
looked
me to
up-
go with you to the theater.
Oh my god!
I said
So I
smarter
looked
than
up an
me.
article
I said
about
smarter.
this.
Street smarts.
I looked up an article that explained it was like, you know, the time theory, the time travel in Endgame, and this is like a scientific journal that did it. Basically, it came down to they said one thing, they did another, but their linchpin was quantum, the quantum realm, quantum theory, which most people, the average person in the
Does
movie
not
theater is not going to understand. So they have that to lean back on, where like we can't really change anything, but we can change things because the quantum realm allows us to travel through time in a different way to allow us to be able to get away with changing some things and not other things, and blah blah blah.
Interesting.
So that's
Yeah.
that's the linchpin in all this is the quantum realm, the quantum travel.
yeah, they have a astrophysicist on the payroll that they like run things from. Now, I'm sure that they don't go by the letter of what he says
Right.
most of the
Because
time.
the
but
article I read
And
said
even
that
people within the same field disagree on how things work. Because
Right.
this is all
It's theory.
theoretical.
It's all
Right.
all
theory.
It's all
theoretical.
theoretical,
Right.
and not everybody
So-
thinks the same thing.
So anyway, so all that to say, they go back in time. We get the scene. We get them, you know, in 2012. You know, right after they defeat Loki, and they're trying to get the staff. They have to get the Tesseract, and have to get the Time Stone. So they kind
You're
of split up into
skipping the
different
most
teams.
important thing in the movie.
America's ass.
America's
I
ass.
was literally about to get to that.
that.
So,
That is
so,
oh no, wait,
America's
but
ass.
Scott said it first.
so Cap goes after the staff. Tony and Scott go after the Tesseract. And
Hulk
goes after the Time Stone.
Yep.
So we see Tony and Scott. They're sneaking in. They're in Avengers Tower. They're watching the whole scene where they're all posing at the end with Loki.
Post
and then-
Loki getting Hulk
Post
slam.
Loki, yeah. And then you see that past Tony. You see the aftermath of that, and he's like, "All right, what are we gonna do? Stand around here and pose all day? Like we got things to do." And so it's wrapping up. President Tony makes the comment of like, "Wow, Cap, that old
Costume
suit
did nothing for
did
your ass."
nothing for your ass." And then Scott's like, "Don't listen to him, Cap. I think your ass looks great. As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass."
And then the callback after he fights himself and he's laying face down, he looks at it and he goes, "Damn, that is America's ass."
Yeah.
Yes.
So
What a fucking Hulk.
Cap is
That's
a
a good-
Cap's a fucking time lord. Like, he did everything right when he went back in time with the elevator scene.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my god.
So the elevator. So he's going after the strike team, and he's going in and he
Jasper
gets in the
Sitwell
elevator.
shows up.
Yeah.
Jasper Sitwell
And Brett
we got-
Rumlow.
yeah, and so they're sitting in the theater, and it's a good. So okay, so going back to an overall impression of the movie, this is one of the things I loved about this movie is all of the callbacks and all the nostalgia of every movie in this universe and the things that they did that just kind of like, oh my god. So they recreated the elevator scene from Winter Soldier where it's reversed. So all of them are in the elevator stops, opens up, and it's Cap, but it's President Cap. He gets in, he stands in the middle. They even recreate with the one guy flicking his holster.
Going for that little stick thing.
Because we know they're Hydra at this point.
Exactly.
We didn't back
know.
then.
And now Cap knows, but they don't know. And so he basically wants to get the staff, and he leans over, and Sitwell's like, well, I'm going to have to call the secretary. And he goes, don't worry about it. Leans over, Hell Hydra. And
I thought that was a phenomenal way to bring something shitty from the comics in a good way in the movies.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, way to take something that everybody fucking hated in the comics and was just a bad move in a lot of ways and turn it around and make it work.
I don't know if it's a bad move. At the time, there was a lot of outrage, but at the end, it all comes full circle.
So he gets the staff, and he's making his way down to back down to the bottom, to the elevator, to the first floor, while Tony and Scott are now trying to get the Tesseract.
Yeah. A little weak, this part for me.
Yeah.
I thought putting, I'm wearing a security guard outfit was a little Scooby-Doo.
It was
a little hokey.
Meanwhile, we got Professor Hulk. He arrives at the
Sanctum
ancient
Sanctorum.
one.
the ancient one. He's looking for
I loved
Doctor
this.
Strange.
I love that they played up the fact that they don't know Stephen Strange. They have no idea that he wasn't there 5 years ago.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned, he's always been there. They don't know
Yeah.
that he just got there like a year ago.
So he talks to the Ancient One. The Ancient One explains to him like, no, he's not the.
He's doing surgery 20
He's doing
blocks
surgery
away.
over there. Yeah, he's not the Sorcerer Supreme yet, and which is awesome that they did that because it shows like her power and how like she knows exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
She knows everything that's going to happen.
She got the time stone.
She has a time stone. So they have their discussion. She explains, time travel and how no, it's not going to work because it's going to fuck me up. And he's like, well, what if I do this? And then it comes to the point to where he's like, well, that he, Steven gave it to Thanos in the first place. And she's like, wait, what? He did what?
That's all I need to say. And she's like, all right,
She's like, all right.
I trust him.
What? That's all you had to say.
Yeah.
So then cut back. So then they're trying to get the Tesseract. Tony and Scott trying to get the Tesseract. Shit goes down.
So
Shit goes sideways.
This is another thing I did not love is the fact that through all of this, Loki ends up with the Space Stone and disappears. Because you motherfucking know that is how they're going to justify leaving him alive.
Giving him
Again.
Disney Plus. They already said he's getting a
No,
series.
I know, but like this is what they're going to use to justify him still being alive. Again, we killed him and brought him back. Motherfucking again. Let this character die. Back off. Like,
It's
but
Loki.
I get it.
That's what he does.
The charming British bad boy sells tickets. Like,
I
then
don't
fucking
think that's
stop
it.
killing him.
It's
That's
Loki.
100%.
Loki doesn't die. He
He's
comes
such a
back in
trickster.
many
Well,
different
he doesn't
forms.
have to
So
die, but that's the
mischievous.
thing.
God
They're
of
never bringing him
mischief.
back in different forms. They're bringing him back as Tom Hiddleston every time. So they're not playing Loki. They're playing Tom Hiddleston. So Loki could come back conceivably as one of the many different forms he's taken over the years, whether he's a kid or a woman or 8,000 other things.
Well, what's the issue
But-
with that? Hiddleston's done a great job with the character.
because
like,
it makes the character boring.
Just 'cause you're
Because all you get is
bored of
the
it.
same. You get the same characterization for Loki all the time. I think it downgrades a character who is a trickster, who is mischievous, who changes his character like he changes his clothes. And you never get to see that because they're not willing to let go of this character, and they're not willing to let go of this characterization of him.
I
Yeah.
think this characterization of him will have a time to flex in that series. I think that series is going to go good. Because he's a great actor pulling a great character. I think he's going to knock it out. I
They've
think
done so much with him already. Like, they've done the bad guy. They've done the good guy. They've done the funny guy. They've done the dead guy. They've done the just kidding, I'm alive. They've done the redeemed villain. They've done, like, what? Stop. Focus on things that we haven't been able. There's so many characters that deserve that spot that have not been able to have that yet. So that just that was a moment where I was just like, and that's how we're gonna keep him alive.
But
Great.
at the same time, though, that scene was a good scene because it did that, yes, but also set up what they had to do to get it back.
Right.
Which I think was really good, especially knowing the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
Going back and being able to see that happen, but we'll get to that. So then so it goes sideways. Loki gets the Space Stone, disappears. Cut back to Cap. He runs into his past self, who thinks that he's Loki, and they get into a fight, which was one of my favorite interactions.
That was good.
Because he's like, I'm not Loki, and he's like, yeah, that's what Loki would say or whatever. They get into a fight. Past Cap knocks President Cap down and just stands there. He's like, I could do this all day. Yeah. And then President Cap's like, yeah, I know. Well,
I get it.
And even before that, when he's walking up and you just see him go, "You've got to be shitting me!"
Yeah.
And it's like
Language.
It shows the change that Cap has gone through.
He knew exactly what was going to happen.
He knew exactly what was going to happen, and it just shows the development of the character throughout the years.
I know exactly who I was 7 years ago. I know what this is gonna do.
I think that's one of the things. Like, he was actually super naive at that time,
Yeah.
and his current self realized how naive he was, and that's why he was able to do the cool Hell Hydra thing, which if he had his wits about him, he would have done the first time.
He would have figured it out.
You
know?
So
we get that fight. He chokes out Pass Cap. Yeah, or no, Pass Cap is choking him out, and that's how he gets out. He goes, Bucky's alive, which throws Pass Cap off, kicks him off the landing, or knocks him out, because then he looks down and he's flat on his face. He looks down, he goes, that is America's ass.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
And then that's when he meets up with Tony and Scott. They figure out, okay,
they fucked up.
How are we going to do this? Wait a minute. Tony knows exactly when the Pym particle, because that's the thing. That's the other thing about this. They have a limited Pym particle. They can go back in time and then they come back, and that's it. That's all the Pym particles they have left. But Tony remembers a time which never gets fully explained.
We had a whole conversation about this. So Tony, and if they hadn't focused on it and they hadn't put the line in the movie, it wouldn't be a big deal. But he's looking at Cap and he's like, I know a time when they were both there at the same time. So he knows when the Tesseract and the Pym particles were at the base at the same time. And the way he says it, he's like, I know when they were. I have a vague certain idea, and I know why I know. If they hadn't put that line in there, it wouldn't be an issue. But they never go over why he knows what day that is. Because my thing coming out of it was I assumed, I was like, oh, that's the day he was born. That's probably his birthday. Mm-hmm. Because his father talks about how pregnant, his wife's super pregnant. You know, he's got the flowers. He's got all that. That's not Tony Stark's birthday. Because the day they go back to is April 7th, 1970. Mm-hmm. And that we couldn't find any... Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't understand.
And for some reason, it's important because...
But, like, why even put that line in there if you're not going to address
Exactly. Because the rest of the time when they're showing, like, okay, so it just shows New York, 2012, Asgard, 2014, Morag, 2016, or whatever like that. But for this, when they go back, even further, it shows, New Jersey, April 7th, 1970. It actually shows the day and month that they go back as well as the year. So for some reason they made a point. Day? I thought they did because I thought we talked about that.
The only reason I know that is because he tells Cap what
he
to
says
go back
0407 190 or 1990.
70.
Oh, 70. Yeah, but. Anyway.
But yeah, so like Tony Stark's birthday was May 29th. Like I was like, I couldn't find anything important about this date.
Yeah.
Which again, like it's like little things that it's like, why put that in there if you're not going to address it? Why have that in there? But that whole sequence in there,
the whole sequence. So they go back in time. They go back to 1970. It happens to be the base where the idea of the super soldier serum was developed. Yeah. And this is years after. So this is
the quote unquote birthplace
of Captain America. And so they're there. And Cap has to go after the Pym particles, and Tony has to go after the Tesseract. Finds it and runs into his dad.
That was a good moment. That whole exchange was really sweet. What do you think, Curtis?
It was so cool.
I loved it. I mean, like, I think that's part of the reason why I prefaced it with like the fanboy is going to take over, because if they never gave me a reason, but they gave me that scene, I'll take the scene. Like, again, I'm a dad.
Exactly. That's the thing.
I don't have a great relationship with my dad. Like, all that stuff just hit.
I love that whole sequence.
Yeah. He never got to say goodbye to him.
Right.
Never got to, talk about having a kid.
Yeah.
And here he is. It's almost the reverse. His dad is asking him, hey, when you had the kid, were you nervous? And,
right. And he gets to encourage his dad, who
About,
wasn't a great dad.
Who wasn't a great Yeah. It's just like, it was really cool, especially knowing...
Tony turned into a great dad. Like
exactly.
And shout out to them for bringing Jarvis back for all of
from
5
the
seconds.
Show.
From the
correct Jarvis.
Wait, what? Really?
From Agent Carter.
Oh, shit. I didn't notice that. I didn't watch that show.
Jarvis was an actual... He was actually
a person.
Mm-hmm.
That's sick.
So someone from the TV shows actually made it into the movies.
Well, I thought it was crazy too. We got to talk about Stan Lee's final cameo came in this part.
Do we know if it's his last one?
Yep.
They said that this was his last one, and he was playing just a hippie. In his car,
he was playing himself. That's exactly how Stan looked back then.
Yeah, they did as much age regression as technology as they could have on him.
A 94-year-old.
Yeah, and then also in the movie, Russo Brothers Community. They've been throwing in Community.
Oh, tons
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah.
So we had
and
Dan-
Arrested Development stuff too.
Really?
Yeah. The
steps.
stairs.
Yeah.
in
Steps.
Civil War.
Well, we had two Community actors show up in this one. We had
You did?
Ken.
Oh, yeah.
Ken Jeong.
Ken
Yep.
Jeong.
Jeong.
Oh, that's why we couldn't figure out why the fuck he was there.
That's
I
why
forgot
he
about
was
that.
there. He was
yeah,
security guard.
and then Shirley.
Shirley.
Yeah.
was
That's
working on
right.
that.
And then
Yeah,
Abed
she
was
was
in Civil War.
Yeah, I bet he was
Yeah.
the security guard, right?
Yeah, he was one of the SHIELD officers.
That's right. That's
Jim
right.
Rash, who played the dean, was in Civil War too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
word.
He was
I didn't
one of
catch that,
the faculty at MIT.
So that,
Too
that
bad we
makes
didn't
sense
have Joel
because
McHale.
we couldn't wrap our minds around why Ken Jeong was there. We're like, why put him in there and like no lines? He's just kind of there.
Right.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah, I forgot that they did that.
So they get to Space Stone. So they got the staff. They got the Space Stone.
Before they get the Space Stone in there, they're ready
Oh
to go.
yeah. And then
But
the Pym particles.
he's hiding.
All
He gets the Pym particles. Cap gets the Pym particles. And then the Yvette Nicole Brown's character has figured out that something's a little fishy about this guy, so he has to hide. He ducks into an office, and as soon as he ducked in, I could see the last three letters were TER, and I was like, "It's Peggy's office! Oh my god!"
She starts nudging me in the theater.
Oh my god, this was all. And I see her through the window, and she's right there. And Cap is on the other side, and he knows she's right there, but he can't talk to her.
I think that's where he knew, like, if he had another chance to, like,
He's like, I could stay here. I could stay here and never leave, but I have to get back. And
Yeah.
And
An old
it says,
flame.
it says director on the door because she's
Yep.
the director.
Yeah.
my baby.
Director of
It was like I've always kind of noticed, but for some reason, this scene of her in particular, I need a movie where she plays a relative of Daisy Ridley because they look the fucking exactly the same in
They're
that
both
particular
British,
too,
aren't
in that
they?
particular
So
scene.
I'm curious here because they've done a really good job tying up a lot of loose ends in this movie. But
Yeah.
one I just don't understand is remember the girl?
Sharon.
Sharon. What was her whole deal? Was she in the
She-
shows or anything?
No,
Wait, Edith
but that's
Thirteen?
no,
Yeah,
but that's
no,
Peggy's
That's-
great niece
Her
or
grandniece
something.
or
Or
something like
grandniece.
that.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, because like I don't know the glances they gave each other like gave me like I thought is this gonna come back and be a love interest for?
Well,
and they
Cap?
kiss in Civil War.
in Civil War. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she's
forgot
the
about
one
that.
that helps him get out, and when it's when they're standing behind the car, and she gets them their costumes and his shield back, and then they have a little kiss, and it's a whole thing.
So
And then-
whatever happens to her? Like in
She
the,
probably died when Thanos
Probably
snapped.
got dusted.
She went to the I can't remember if it was the FBI or I think
CIA.
she went
She went to the
CIA.
CIA.
That's right, because
Yeah.
Maria
After
Hill went to FBI.
No, Maria
No,
Hill
Maria
went
went
to
to
work
Stark.
for Stark Industries.
I thought she went to
Because she was
because
interviewing.
She was so we
She
see her again in
did.
Agents of Shield.
right.
I
I thought that's where she was, and then I thought she went to Stark.
No.
Yeah, she
I
went
just know
straight
at
to
the
Stark.
end of
Straight to Stark.
when Shield goes down and they're following where people went, they show Sharon at a shooting range with
Yeah,
the
with
CIA,
the CIA,
and
right.
they show Maria Hill doing an interview with a lie detector test for Stark Industries HR.
That's right. They do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
So she probably got fucking dusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah.
how do you have that conversation? So in about 70 years, I'm
Yeah.
gonna make out with your grandniece.
you don't
Well,
have that
unless he
conversation.
changed
Yeah,
the time,
that's
unless we
capable
were talking about the
comics.
time, unless he changed the time. Who knows what he fucked up when he actually
Yeah.
stayed back?
when he stays back.
and
Because you
lived
gotta
his
assume
life
that's
with her.
like her sibling's daughter, her sibling's child's child.
Yeah. But butterfly effect.
But yeah,
Butterfly effect. So okay, so Banner gets the time stone.
Yep.
They get the staff. They get the Tesseract. Boom.
head back.
Asgard, 2014.
I can't believe they got Natalie Portman to do that little bit role.
Did she?
Yeah.
I was like,
I flipped out. I was like, all the crap she talked about them, but I saw her at
was at the red carpet.
yeah, and I was like, oh, maybe
was
she's
that who you
just
saw?
That
being
was what I
nice.
saw.
That was what you
'Cause
saw.
That
Okay.
was the one I was like, I wish I hadn't seen that.
As soon as I saw her on screen, I was like, I bet you anything. It was either her or Peggy.
Yeah.
That was like, oh shit, that's
Yeah.
what Emma saw.
Yep.
why do you think it was important to have her back in there for that?
It
part?
wasn't important. It was just weird because she talked a lot of shit.
Yeah, it was.
She does not want to do those movies anymore.
No,
Huh.
but
I
things
heard
changed,
that.
I guess.
I didn't even think that was new footage. My thought was like maybe I wonder if they just had like extra shit and they just kind of worked it into and then
I wondered
CGI
about that.
like
Maybe.
rocket into there and
It's totally plausible.
yeah.
I mean,
But,
she
I
could
mean,
have been
they
on the
still
red
have to-
carpet just because she was a part of the MCU
Yeah.
and they invited everybody. And you're not going to turn down free drinks and a free movie. So.
Yeah.
Even
Free
if you're Natalie
press.
Portman in free press.
and they gave her a lot of like even though she's in that one part like they brought her face up and Thor like made a point to talk about her. So I
Yeah.
wonder if that will Maybe she's mending that fence and will play a part in future movies.
I just wanted Jane Foster Thor.
Yeah. Jane
I don't know if
Foster.
But we'll never get
her.
that.
No.
But
Well, they're doing the What If series on Disney Plus though, and that was literally one of the first like original What If comics back in the day.
Yeah.
Like the OG was Jane Foster. Like Jane Foster Thor is not new.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole like Jason Aaron doing a whole run is new, but the concept is from
What
like the
concept?
60s or 70s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's when we get
Him and Frigga
have a conversation. Rocket gets the
ether.
the ether, which is the
So this is
Power.
one of those ones that like.
no, Power Stone's purple.
Oh, I'm
It's the
sorry.
reality.
Reality
So
Stone,
this
right?
was one of the ones that like Cap goes back to give her. I'll put all the stones back. How do you put that one back?
Oh,
Yeah.
good point.
How do you put the ether back in
Yeah,
Jane
eject
Foster?
it back into her.
Movie magic.
Movie magic.
just-
logistical
Logistical questions.
thing.
Moving
Because
on, Emma.
Moving
Fictional
on.
characters.
So that's
Touch a boob.
Thor really.
You can't see in the podcast, but I just grabbed my own boob.
There you go.
Thor really has a breakdown here. He runs off. Basically, he runs off to talk to his mom. And Rocket is left to have to try and figure out how to get the ether. Basically, needle stick Jane, grab the ether out, and then get out.
Because the idea had been have Thor distract her, and then he'll knock her out and take the ether. But now
Right.
he's got to do it on his own, and he already has a hard time because he's a fucking raccoon.
Yeah, he's a sweet rabbit.
I send emails. I get emails from a raccoon. There's nothing you can do that can get you out.
Yeah, that was a good line. That
That
was a
was
really
good.
good line. So we touched on this a little bit already. Frigga basically says, yeah, you're a failure, but so is everybody else. The important thing is how you learn from your failures and how you become a better person from them. And so Rocket gets in. Rocket gets there with the ether. They're ready to get going, and he was like, "Wait, I have to try something." And he reaches his hand out, and Rocket's like, "Wait, what are you doing?"
What am I looking at?
And Frigga even goes, "It takes a minute." And there comes Mjolnir, and he's like, "I'm still worthy," and like that's when he has like his redemption moment.
I teared up a little at that part too.
Yeah.
Because like you see how far he'd fallen to playing Fortnite with his buddies and yelling at kids online and shit. And then he was a huge joke. Like leading up to that point, he had the confidence issues. He couldn't stand to look. His eyes are different colors because he's been beat up. He's a
No,
broken.
it's because he has the prosthetic.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Just through
So-
war, he's just a beat. He's a broken dude.
I forgot about that because the prosthetic is like yellowish, almost like Heimdall's eyes, and I was like, "Oh shit, is he getting something like Heimdall where he could?" And then I was like,
No.
"Oh wait, that's a fake eye. That was in Raccoon's ass."
So he gets Mjolnir, and then that just realization that he's worthy again, like totally brought a tear to my eye again, and I was super stoked for that moment.
So boom, we get the reality gem. Fast. So then we jump to Morag. We got Rhodey, Nebula, Clint, and Nat show up on Morag, and so they separate. Nebula and Rhodey go after the Power Stone. They stalk Star-Lord, go after the Power Stone, while Nat and Clint go off to Vormir
To meet the Red Skull.
to meet the Red Skull and get the Soul Stone, which it didn't even dawn on me until Emma looks at me and she mouths, "One of them is dying." And I was like,
Because I looked at them
"Oh,
leaving,
shit."
and it wasn't even like it was funny because the way I told him, I looked at Webb and he was like, "What are you freaking out about?" And I pointed to both of them on screen, and then I drew the line across my neck. I was like, "One of them's going down."
Yeah.
And then I was kind of confused. I guess I didn't really understand that Nebula didn't understand the Soul Stone thing because I figured, she knew that he left with Gamora and came back with the stone and didn't have her. I was like, did she not want to fucking warn them
Oh,
about
that's true.
Yeah.
this?
Another
but
one of those
I
times
guess
we
you gotta
have to make the
assume that she
assumption-
doesn't. All she knows is that Gamora's dead. She doesn't really know that there was a price.
For
and
all
that was
she
why.
knew, Gamora fought Thanos to try and prevent him from
Right.
being Soul Stone, and he killed her.
All this
So-
shit we've
and
broken.
how convenient that it happens to be Clint and Nat that go. Because
Right.
like if it had been any other grouping, would not have worked out because it has
Yeah.
to be somebody that you love.
Yeah.
So we see Nebula and Rhodey. They're like, waiting for Star-Lord to show up. That's when we first get the idea of like, okay, what's the wrench in this plan? And Nebula basically says we should get to cover because we're not the only ones looking for the Power Stone in 2016.
14.
14 was that 14?
Mm-hmm.
So Dark World and Guardians were the same year.
Well, they're both.
Oh, it's supposed-
that's just what she said. She's like, we're not the only ones that are
ones that-
looking for the stones in 2014.
2014. So that's when we cut to
Which why is it the
past-
same year on every planet? And why do they all refer to hours? That bothered me in Captain Marvel too. They're like, it's 22 hours away. Hours are different depending on what planet you're on. Logistical question.
You need to let some stuff go.
So
Space works differently.
So that's when we see Thanos, Gamora, and Nebula. That they come together.
Well, basically what happens is Nebula is occupying now the same timeline twice. And she's
Right.
like...
With the same network.
Yeah, we
With
don't
the same
fully
Wi-Fi
understand what
network.
she is. She's basically a robot that has like recording devices to her that goes straight to Thanos, and she's like, now she's crossing wires where the memories from the one are now on a shared network.
Right.
Basically, the Cloud fucked the Avengers.
Yeah.
Basic. No one knows how to use the cloud. Not even the Avengers.
Yeah.
No one understands the cloud.
I likened it to if you're familiar with Doctor Who, when the Doctor goes back in his own time stream, or not even if it's just him that goes back. When his sonic screwdriver goes back in its own time stream and gets too close to itself, it starts like sparking and fritzing out because it's creating a paradox, basically.
Gotcha.
So that's essentially what's happening with Nebula.
And Thanos just gets the spark notes on everything.
On
Yeah.
everything
He
that
knows
just,
everything
yeah.
leading up to this moment. He knows the plan. He knows that he succeeds in
Right.
the future. He knows that he dies.
Yep.
Which was kind of cool to see how Thanos deals with his own death. Like, he was actually he was cool with it.
Yeah, he's like,
He's
I
like-
did what I meant to do, and I don't care.
Yeah, he's like, that's destiny.
So go back to Morag, where we see, where we hear the music from Guardians,
Yes.
and we see, that same intro. Like, here comes, Peter Quill. He's
Come and
sliding
get
in,
your
and he's
love.
grabbing lizards and singing, and then the music cuts, and it goes to Rhodey and Nebula sitting behind a rock, and just seeing him like dancing and like grabbing lizards and stuff, and Rhodey just looks at Nebula and goes, So he's an idiot. And Nebula's like, yeah, he is.
It's my other favorite character.
And it's funny because when I watch Guardians of the Galaxy, that's what I think. I'm like, damn, this guy looks like a moron from the outside. 'Cause
Right?
Nobody else can hear that.
Yeah, they just
He's
punch
lucky
him,
this is a
They
deserted
punch him in the
planet.
face, grab his tools, and get the Power Stone.
steal the Power Stone, bounce.
She reaches in because she has a metal arm. Reaches in, grabs it, and bounce.
Yep.
And there we go. So now we go. Then we got the Power Stone. So cut to Nat and Clint walking up the stone steps on Vormir and talking to the Red Skull. And
This was crazy to me. Like, they fought each other just to see who was gonna die.
This was,
but that's in character for the two of them.
yeah. That's completely in character for both of them.
Yeah,
Both of them
how many
care.
times have they fought each other now?
Well,
they
fought
fought
each
each
other-
other in the first one. They fought each other in Captain America
Civil
Civil
War.
War, and they fought
Are we
each
still
other.
Well,
gonna
but
be-
just, like,
we're still
fighting-
friends, right? Depends on how hard you hit me.
But like fighting to save each other. They're like, because they
Yeah.
have that conversation. They're like, well, we both know who it's going to be. And they're
Right.
like, yep. And he says, I feel like we're thinking of different people. Because
Yeah.
I know it has to be me. And she's like, oh, well, I know it has to be me.
Yeah.
And honestly, she's right. She doesn't have anybody. And he has 3 kids and a wife. So
Well,
she's completely right.
She's
Both the
right.
reasons are right.
But
Both the
are
reasons.
Exactly. I was just say the reasons are both very valid. He feels like he needs to pay some sort of repentance for all the shit that he's done.
Yeah.
In the past 5
Imagine
years.
the shit all that he's done and going back. Like, even if they bring your kids back, like,
He's still
you gotta
living.
Change.
live. You gotta
Yeah.
live with the 5 years of just pure murder, and then
Murder.
and for what you thought you'd never get your back. Now they're back. And you're like,
exactly.
oh shit! Like, I just ended. Some of those guys he killed probably had children. So,
Yeah.
And then Nat is looking at it as like he has a family. She's sacrificing herself to save her family. She's now
And it
found
goes
the family
back
that she
to
never had.
her conversation in Avengers. Like, it all comes back to the fact that she has, quote, red in her ledger with Clint. She owes him a life debt. She always has. And now it's her turn to pay that debt. It's her turn to save his life.
Yeah.
So they fight each other.
It's a good scene.
We think that she beats him. She's running to the cliff. He takes out an exploding arrow, knocks her over. He runs. He jumps off. She jumps off after him. Grapple hook hits him there, and like the whole scene, it was such a good scene, but it was so. They dragged it out in a good way because like the whole time you're just like you don't.
I didn't know who
honestly-
was gonna go.
I
Yeah.
didn't know
me
who was gonna
neither.
go.
Oh, I did 100% because
Well-
Oh, yeah?
Hawkeye has a show.
I mean,
Oh.
technically, like you could
It
if
could
you
be
put
a prequel. No,
if you put
people.
thought into it, you could figure out, yeah, it was going to be Nat. But in the moment, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, And it's such a sad, like, heartbreaking thing because these are best friends, and one of them has to basically
If you can make me
kill the other.
cry over the death of Black Widow, you've made a good
That's
scene.
saying something.
Because I was I was devastated, not at the death of Black Widow, because I think this was a perfect ending for her. What a fantastic way to end this character. You finished her off in a way that, like, the Russo brothers have done their best to undo the damage that was done to her in her, in her beginning iterations that Jon Favreau did to her and that Joss Whedon did to her. Like, they did their damnedest to kind of bring her character back to something that's actually worth being a character and isn't, a sex symbol and isn't used for that. But, like, they found a way to take that character and give her a meaningful and a very powerful ending that she chose herself. And that she took control of.
And we've been talking kind of about, as we've been going, like the process of Captain America bringing the stones back. That's the one I want to see him bring back.
Okay, so
we had a lot of questions on that.
We had a lot of questions about that. The way we came to it, the way we came to a conclusion after we watched this the first time was that cannot be reversed. So her death cannot be reversed. He can bring the Soul Stone back, and he can give it back to the universe or whatever.
But can he? Because we don't know that he can. Well, we don't know that you can just walk up to the Red Skull, put the stone out, and the fucking universe.
Time out. First of all, the last damn person that Captain America is going to give a stone to is
the Red
that guy.
Yeah, that's why I want to go back. I want to see these two, like, how far he's come. What is he now? Is he still the Red Skull? Like, is he going to hold... He's
a completely different person. He's not Hugo Weaving anymore.
He's a three-eyed raven,
exactly.
Maybe he's forgiven. Maybe if Cap didn't defeat him, he wouldn't be whatever he is. Maybe what he is now is a curse. Like, there's a lot of shit we don't know. That's why I want to see that get hammered out between those two. We'll never get it, but
we're never gonna get it, and not only for that reason, but that's like I was saying, the logistics of it. Like, okay, they made it very clear both times with Gamora and with Nat, this cannot be reversed.
Yeah.
This is how you get the Soul Stone, but how do you give it back? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, Clint gets the Soul Stone. They have all the stones. They go back. They have this, basically this memorial for Nat, and they're trying to figure out, is there a way to bring her back? No, she's gone. All we can do is make sure that her sacrifice doesn't go, appreciated.
Yeah, so
basically.
that part was a little slow, but I do understand, like, that was essentially her funeral scene. And, you need that. You need something like that for one of your original characters. Or one of your main characters that has died.
Yeah.
Things pick up super quick from this point, though.
Yeah, this is where I started, like, the whole first, like, half of the movie, I thought moved too slow. I thought they spent too much time dragging things out. I thought they spent too much time on certain things. I was like, this did not need to be a 3-hour movie.
Well, it's it's like the first two acts are like that. Now in the third act, it's like things start just boom, 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 because now all of a sudden Tony knows how to build a gauntlet out of Iron Man armor.
Because they had to go to the dwarves who use a dying star to create something that's powerful enough to harness all this energy. Yeah. And Tony's just like, I can make that in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, and to be fair, like we talked about this too, to be fair, he had the mechanical engineer there.
Yeah,
who doesn't understand space?
At this point, we have every big brain in the universe besides Michael Douglas and Reed Richards.
Yeah. We have every big brain on Earth.
Yeah, that's another line that was really good.
It's a lot of people that don't understand space, that don't understand the mysticism, don't understand the power beyond what we as people on Earth. The other thing, like, because Rocket makes a comment to Tony, and he says, "Be careful, you are only a genius on this planet. Yeah. Like, humans are stupid, and you're a genius by stupid standards."
I think it's safe to assume, though, that this gauntlet was made between the collective knowledge of the people we have.
Right, because Rocket was there.
You have Rocket, you have Tony, you have Hulk. Professor Hulk, you have Hulk, Lang,
Scott, So they create it, and then it's a matter of who's gonna wear it. And Thor is like, it needs to be me. Let me redeem myself. I have to be the one to do this. And that's when Professor Hulk comes down, and he's like, it has to be me. You're not even as an Asgardian, you're not gonna be able to handle this. Look what happened to Thanos. Most of this radiation is gamma radiation, kind of made to do this. Yeah. So he puts on the gauntlet. Tony activates the barn door protocol, which shuts down, the building, protects, I'm assuming some sort of like solid armor plating, so things go awry, they just blow themselves up. And he's like, remember, we're only going to bring back the people who disappeared, the people who died to this point. We're not undoing anything else. Remember. Snap. And it's like, it fries Hulk, half of Hulk. And we try to figure out, like, okay, did it work? Scott, they open
the
up.
Birds.
Scott hears the birds.
Which you realize you haven't seen animals this whole movie.
Yeah. And he's like, I think it worked. And then we see...
Because while this is all happening, Nebula...
Yeah, so let's pause there.
Past Nebula has taken over present Nebula, took her shield on her face, whatever the fuck that is, to blend in. And while they're all distracted figuring out if the Infinity Stones work, she is gone and called Thanos in with, basically his whole army. She brought him right where they are. I was vaguely worried. I was like, is this supposed to be like vibranium, like steel plating? Are they gonna put a fucking spaceship in this tiny ass area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It busts out. I have more logistical questions after this.
Jeez.
So I think it busted out of an area that was not under the barn door protocol.
Right.
Barn door protocol was in a different building.
So that's not what my question's about.
Oh, okay.
But Thanos shows up with his everything.
Yeah.
Every single thing he has in his arsenal is there now. And this scene where the ship just comes up and fucking bombs them for like a split second, I thought that's how they're gonna kill everybody. I was like,
really?
that is a brave and cool if they had ended it like they were all dead right there, I would have been like, oh, that's amazing. Good for you guys for taking that shot. But it wasn't. But for I literally thought, I was like, damn, they just killed everybody in a split second.
That was sick, like how that happened. Because they didn't get, all we know is that Clint gets a phone call
from his wife.
From his wife.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then he gets a phone call from the wife, and then ship shows up.
Which he still has his phone, and he still has the same number.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Super cool.
Yeah. Well, it's contracts.
Yeah.
You had Verizon. You're still in the contract.
Big explosion. Everyone's fucked up.
Everyone's fucked.
Dude,
but everybody survives that massive explosion with next to no damage.
I understand how Ant-Man did it. I understand.
He was the closest.
Well,
but he's shrinking.
Yeah, he shrunk and was able to.
But Clint should have been severely hurt.
Rocket should
have been severely hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is there's suspension of disbelief, and then there's all right, it can only be suspended so much.
The second time we watched it, Elizabeth looked over. She's like, they all survived that.
Right? It's and it's not just one missile. It's 17 of them.
Yeah. High.
But it's
missiles.
the movies. So we got some trapped down below. We got our main Avengers.
Well, the three mains are up at top. They make it out to the top where they see Thanos just sitting there waiting as he sent past Nebula to go and retrieve the Infinity Stones in the Gauntlet. And so we get Thor, we get Iron Man, and we get Captain America standing there, and they're like, what's he doing? And Thor's like, nothing. He's just sitting there.
Just chilling.
He's like, this is a trap, right? Yep. We know we got to do it, right? Yep. So then here comes the big fight.
Yeah.
Which was so
This whole last act
awesome.
is the best part of the movie.
Oh my God. This whole fight was just so good for so many different reasons.
Ugh.
Yeah, the Thor, when he gets hit with the lightning and he's got the braided beard with the...
That was weird.
The stuff back ready
It's
to go.
why did the lightning braid your hair? What is this?
Well, yeah. I mean, why does the lightning put armor on him?
Insane.
Yeah, it's the same
But
deal.
that, when he just reached both hands out and he got Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and I was like, oh,
I'm gonna stop you for a minute.
Mjolnir.
He got Meow Meow.
Mew. Yeah.
He got Mew Mew, and he got Stormbreaker.
I've never once heard him say it right.
That's why I actually do the cat Dennings and just say Meow Meow, because
Ugh.
fuck it.
Fuck.
So we got this whole huge fight, and this is one of the scenes where I was elbowing Emma, because we got Thanos just wailing on Cap, breaking his shield, and it cracks, just like if you go back to
Age of
Ultron, when Tony gets that vision and he sees Cap down, and you look at the shield and the shield is cracked, just like that. And I was like, oh my God, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's emphasis for the podcast. It was just all the different callbacks they did to these movies. It was just so
We're very excited to
good.
see that. And then the fight Thor goes up and has his. They kind of all in the beginning, like they all start together, and then they start kind of taking turns one on one, and it's kind of just going and going and going.
This is fan service.
Oh,
through
100%.
Because this is what we've been wanting, like the showdowns between.
Oh yeah.
And we got the teaser. And Curtis, if you guys are listening, Curtis went to the restroom because this podcast is going to be as long as the Avengers movie here pretty soon.
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
We need to wait for the biggest part of this fight until this man gets back. Okay. Because
so while we wait for him, let's cut to.
I have a question though. I do have a question. So I didn't think about this when I was watching it, but somebody posed this question later, and I kind of was like, interesting. So in Infinity War, when the big showdown happens and Thanos is kind of, they're all fighting Thanos at the end, and or various parts of the movie when he has, at some point he has 5 Infinity Stones and he's fighting people. At some point he has 1 and he's fighting people and he's kicking it. Like he has various amounts of Infinity Stones and he's fighting them all. And it's going the way that it's going, but at the end, like you get Scarlet Witch, he's barely winning some of these fights with 5 Infinity Stones. How is he kicking ass with no stones? It seems like he's more powerful in this fight than he was when he had 5 Infinity Stones.
Well, no, I mean even look at him in the beginning of Infinity War when he kicked Hulk's ass with he had 1 with 1 Infinity Stone, yeah.
But it just like
he had the Power Stone.
He had the Power Stone, and like just this fight where he's just wrecking everybody in his path.
We waited for you to get back just for this part, Curtis.
You can make the argument about Wanda
because this was your part. This was
for sure that one.
This was Curtis's part because even before he went and saw the movie on Twitter, he posted a photo of Thanos face to face with Captain America.
So is this where?
All right, we talking about it?
Where
Curtis, please? I want Curtis. To do it. Curtis tells it best.
What am I telling? I don't even know.
Cap
so
and
big
Thanos.
Fight. Cap and Thanos.
Yeah.
What happened?
Cap shield's broken.
You knew that this was coming.
What does Cap grab?
Oh, he grabs Mjolnir.
Yes!
And the look on Thor's face. Yes!
He says, I knew
it. Oh yeah, that was incredible. I like as soon as I saw that they showed Mjolnir and it lifted, I was like, oh, like I sounded like I lost my mind.
Yeah.
And then finally everybody saw they showed Cap and he was like, and everybody was like, oh.
What a fucking kick-ass fight. My favorite was like when he threw the shield and he threw the sword and he did that move by himself. Oh!
Yeah.
That was incredible.
And then he's just sitting there, he's just lightning, just pouring down, just full power of Thor, because he who would be worthy to hold the hammer has the full power of Thor.
That's right.
It's so dope.
So good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was incredible.
So
the whole theater fucking cheered.
I went. We all went on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was the same. Like people clapping for every moment, every hero moment.
More or less, yeah.
I went today, a few days removed, Saturday, and the first big pop. It was like half-assed. A couple people went, and then it was pretty much the tone was set for the rest of the thing. So, like, there would be a couple times you'd hear like 2 people, and it was like everybody's like, "Shut the fuck up, we're watching the movie."
Right.
Until that happened.
Yeah.
When that happened, my stubborn audience of like, we're not clapping, all unanimously were like, okay, fucking, they did that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So cool. But it still was not enough because Thanos still broke all
he
of
had
them.
to. And then that's when he breaks the vibranium shield.
That's when he breaks the vibranium shield.
What do you think about that, Curtis? Like, because I thought the same thought of Emma did. What do you think of like Thanos with no stones being able to throw down with all the 3 big Avengers? Is that like, what's his power level supposed to even look like?
Mine was necessarily like his power level in relation to Infinity War. Like in Infinity War, he has 5 stones,
right,
and he's still kind of barely winning that fight. In this one, like especially with Wanda, because he eventually faces off with her one-on-one as well.
Wanda makes sense though, because Wanda's powers come from the reality stone. So it's Infinity Stone versus 1 Infinity Stone versus 5 Infinity Stones, which makes sense that she was able to slow him down much as she did.
And it's her. She got her powers from it, but she does not have the power of
an Infinity
Stone. Right.
I just kind of I figured she doesn't have the powers of the reality stone, but her power is is rooted in the reality stone. So it's kind of like it's the same reason why she was the only one that could destroy the Mind Stone, because her powers, equate that of an Infinity Stone.
Ostensibly, Carol would be able to do it as well.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
she
I
gets
mean,
her
in
powers
theory,
from
yeah.
the space
Because her
stone.
powers
Yeah.
come from the space. Yeah.
Yeah, in theory.
But it was kind of
So-
one of those things. Like I was watching it, and I'm looking at like the ferocity with which he's fighting, which we didn't really get to see a lot of in Infinity War for the most part.
No, I mean, as soon as we saw him, he already had the power.
Right. So, but like he's fighting almost better, I think, in this than he fought in Infinity War when he had the stones.
I mean, he also had I guess he didn't need his weapon in the other movie, like, because that's the other thing. Like, he has a weapon, and so just him swinging around the weapon and some of the stuff he could do with it kind of intensified the battle. He didn't need it before because he already had the stones,
fair.
so everything
Yeah.
came from doing this and doing all that.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's
and then, like David had said, Hulk caught those hands in
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
thing. Like, and Hulk's he's one of the strongest ones in the
He's
universe.
the strongest Avenger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're all getting their asses kicked. Cap, as usual, stands back up.
'Cause he
Mr.
could do this
I
all
can
day.
Do this all day. And then you hear in his ear, somebody talking to him, and you're like, "What is that? What's that sound?" He says, "Cap, it's Sam," and you're just like, "Oh my god, it worked!" And he says,
and then he goes on
"Oh,
the left, and then it was like, "Oh shit!" It was
Yeah.
another one, and,
And
then
then
there's a portal.
The portal opens up.
I
and
just
then another
got
one.
that reference.
And then another one. And are you kidding? You've seen it twice.
On your left.
On your left from the... No, I've seen it twice, and I
On
heard him
your
say
left.
that, but I didn't
That's
realize
the-
it was from the running scene.
Yeah.
Those are the first lines of
dare you.
Captain America.
I'm
Winter
serious.
Soldier.
That's just one of the
My
ones I
God.
missed. That's great. Now,
As soon as I
on
saw
your
it.
left.
Well, and then
Running
a portal
on your
opens
left.
up.
Running. Don't
and
you
then
say
another
it.
one.
Don't you say it. On your left. So,
then you see the Doctor Strange thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
The sling rings.
Yeah.
It's
portals.
one, and then T'Challa and Okoye and Shuri walk out, and you're like, damn.
And then you just
another
sit there
one.
and you smile at him, and they just like nod. And I was like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
So they walk out, and you're like, oh, it worked. And then another one, and another one, and another one. And these portals are fucking everywhere.
Everywhere.
Coming
and
from
the
all
whole
over the
Emma sounds like
goddamn
DJ
world
Khaled
comes
right
out.
now. Another one.
Another one.
And another
How
one.
dare you.
And
What was
another
weird
one.
though was we talked about this as well when they show Wakanda.
Oh, yeah.
There's a massive army. Where was that
Where
army
was that
in Infinity War?
Infinity War? Why
Because
did
the
only
army
have
they brought
three-
was like maybe a quarter that
So
size.
in Infinity War, because we watched Infinity War right before we went to the movie, because
Uh-huh.
we had some time to kill. So they had the King's Guard, they had the I can never say
the
the
Dora
name.
Milaje.
Dora Milaje, and then they had what was left of the Border Tribe
Yeah.
Infinity War.
Because
And they had the Jabari.
and the Jabari.
right. And usually
There's
the
no-
only people that patrol, because they were like out on the border, which
Right.
is weird. Because remember they're in a dome, but they only were at one section.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the border tribe is who is supposed to guard. Like the Jabari, remember they came in and,
Right.
and just helped. The Jabari
Yeah.
usually don't do nothing
No,
with the
exactly.
rest of the tribes. But so only the border tribe is supposed to protect the border, and the Jabari came and helped. It looked like they had way more than the border
Right.
tribe.
Where,
Like-
where was the River Tribe? Like in Infinity War, like even though the Border Tribe is supposed to be the one to do it, but this is fucking
But
like
just the
okay,
crowd.
we need more people here for Infinity War. Where was the River Tribe? Where was the Merchant Tribe? I think that's the only two that were
And
missing.
even if you're even disregarding the tribes, like just the sheer amount of people.
Just-
if you
yeah,
look,
exactly.
If you look just at a picture of the army that they brought in Infinity War, and then the fucking army they had in Endgame, you're like, where were all these people when you were
wizards?
fighting this battle the
Yeah.
first time?
all- yeah,
not even
all-
the wizards, just in Wakanda.
Just in
the
Wakanda,
Wakandan
but-
No,
army.
I'm
then-
talking about like
yeah.
the wizards too. Like those guys. Like where did
Right,
all
where
those
the
dudes
fuck
come
were
from?
they?
Yeah.
Are you talking about all the Doctor Stranges?
yeah,
Yeah.
'cause there was a bunch
Oh.
of them on the battlefield.
Oh yeah, I mean they just weren't even.
So, but that
Yeah,
whole like
so-
once you realize that, because that's the scene right before it is it's Cap standing alone, beaten down
Yeah.
in front of this massive army Thanos has, and then you like it's that moment like this is all gonna end right here, but fuck it.
Yeah.
And then you're equally matched with everybody that you just brought back. So that is like
we see Rescue.
that's what you want. Yeah, you get rescue.
Star-Lord,
Star-Lord comes-
Groot,
yeah,
Drax,
Groot.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh, that scene. Hey, Mr. Stark, it was really weird. So I remember we turned into dust and then woke up and it had only been like a little bit, but you were gone. And Doctor Strange said that it's
And
only
he
been
just
5
hugs
hours, but it's
him.
been 5 years. And he just hugs him. Oh, okay, this is weird.
Aw.
Like,
That was
oh
yeah,
my
that was
gosh.
really sweet. That was a good
Yeah, that
moment.
was
So
that whole battle, and then like you have like this is one really cool scene. And this is one of the scenes I was going to talk about before the show. We're like, no, let's save it. Is like you see like Peter, he's there and he's like fighting them off, and he's starting to go down a little bit, and then it cuts the Cap, and he's like, "Hey, Queens!" and throws Peter what's left of his shield.
Yeah.
So then Peter grabs the shield, and he's like fighting them off with the shield. I was like, oh, That's so cool.
Yeah,
Well,
that
and
was
at
awesome.
one point, because he threw Mjolnir and Peter attached himself to it.
Oh yeah, and then he
Yeah.
like takes off because Peter then has the football. He has the Infinity Gauntlet.
That whole sequence they did of playing hot potato with the Infinity Gauntlet worked really, really, really well. That was a really great way, I think, to film that battle where you get to see all the characters that you want to see, and you get to see how massive this is because they're moving long distances and they're not getting to the edge of this battle.
Yeah.
Because
And then you get the best.
Well, hang on.
part.
Before we get to that,
God.
before we get to
Best
that,
part.
it is
Here
the
it
best part.
comes.
Before we get to that, we have to explain. So the whole idea is like, okay, they have to get these Infinity Stones back to the timeline. They have to get them away from Thanos, back to their rightful time. But they Thanos destroyed the tunnel when he bombed, the compound.
Right.
Oh, but wait, we have the one in the van.
van.
Yep.
So that's
Which is
now
somehow
the mission.
still standing.
Yeah, that van is.
That van's got
That
some
is-
plot
What
armor.
brand was
No,
that thing?
It is a 1980s Chevy van. That thing was solid steel.
They don't build them like
They
they
don't
used
build
to.
them like they used to. That thing was, yeah.
So while they're all getting
Fucking
their
bunker.
ass kicked, so it's when Wanda and Thanos are fighting, and he realizes he's not winning this fight.
No,
Something's got
she
to
is
give.
good.
Because my baby girl is finally starting to show some semblance of power that she's supposed to have, at least to an extent of what they have in the movies.
As much as we're going to be
As
able
much
to...
as they can
yeah.
give her, because they're cowards.
Anyway.
And he basically he tells him to rain fire, kill all our troops. I don't give a fuck. You just need to bomb the shit out of this because I'm gonna die if you don't.
Yeah.
And so they're bombing. Everybody's getting wrecked.
All the wizards, like, put up their shields and they guard as much as
and
many people
yeah,
as
and
they
all of a
can.
sudden, and we talked about this, like all of a sudden
Wow.
they turned their guns on something else in the,
Yeah, in
sky.
the sky,
And as soon as
yeah.
they did that, I was like, my baby's here. We're finally, she's been benched this whole time, but she's coming back. She's coming back now. And she does exactly, it's Captain Marvel, and she does exactly what she did
In
to
Captain Marvel.
To all those ships in Captain Marvel. Like,
Yeah.
she just
Yeah,
runs
goes
through it.
through
She doesn't
them
have to
things.
fight. She doesn't have to use her blasters. She doesn't have to use her whatever. She
Yeah.
just flies directly. She's like, I'm just going to hit everything vital and take this shit down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's kind of when Thanos starts to realize, like, oh,
This thing is lost.
this is not going the way it was supposed to go.
didn't
So
tell
he-
me
Because he
so-
didn't expect her.
Yeah.
She lands, and Peter is
I don't
like...
even know who
Peter's
you
like
are.
ducking because he's like getting,
And he was beat
bombed.
up. Like, he's got black
has
eyes.
black
He's
eyes.
bruised. He's messed up.
Even when he goes, when another callback, when he's sitting there, he's like, Karen, activate instant kill.
Yeah.
And like the iron spider things
Tentacles, all the
just
arms.
starts, stabbing and everything.
Impaling.
So he's
Carol
like,
comes down, and she sees Peter, and he's Karen. She's like, you got something for me? And he hands it to her. He's like, take it. I don't fucking, like, do whatever you want.
I don't know how you can get
And
through all that.
it's just a moment of like, you can have it, but how are you going to get through all that? And it pans out, and every woman that we have access to in these movies comes out, and you just hear, how are you going to get through that?
Yeah.
She'll have help. And people are mad about this scene.
just so
Real.
People are so
dumb.
mad. Oh, they're trying to just shoehorn stuff in there. They're trying to make a statement. Yes, they're making a statement. This scene was 100% to make a statement. This scene was meant to be exactly what it was. Yes, it was. If you want to say it was forced, fine. I don't give a fuck.
It was
It's
a
definitely
scene-
forced.
This
Yeah, it
scene
was A-forced.
It was A-forced. But like this scene was a marker of how far we've come and of how far we still have to go. Because like it was just everything. It was everything. It's every woman that you could have ever wanted that we currently have in the MCU getting together and just fucking wrecking
ass.
house. I lost my mind, and I was like, A-Force, give it to me, like make this happen. I was crying. I was so happy. I was just like, this is everything I
That's-
want in my life.
That's where I sit on that whole part of the movie. It was 100% super forced and like dumb in the context of a battle that all the women happened to be together to do a hero pose and fight. But the only part that gave me solace was the fact that the effect it had on people who needed to see it. Like, I really hope there was little girls who see that scene and get inspired.
Right.
So I appreciate what it did and the message it sent. But in the movie, I was just like,
I didn't care because the reason that it was like forced is like they're like, these people are spread out all over the battlefield. How are they going to end up right here all at once? But we do that all the time with team up movies. It just happens to be most of the time that they're men. So you have big battle scenes in these movies all the time where like this guy's fighting this person over here, this guy's fighting. But at some point there's a cinematic shot where you need the whole team together in
Yeah.
one shot. and nobody questions it.
Well, just like the thing that frustrated me too in the movie was like, Captain America and Thanos are like 100 yards apart, and Thanos says something at a whisper level, and Captain America says something at a whisper level, and they hear each other. Like,
Right.
There's just motifs in battle scenes where, like the conversations. It's a loud ass battlefield. How do you hear what people are saying? And like people are saying something here, and a guy's on a horse 6 miles, in the air, and she heard what he said. So, like, you got to let that stuff go, and then heroes coming together and doing that. But it was. Like I said, it wasn't for me. That moment wasn't for me. So
and that's a perfect thing to realize is that it wasn't for you. It was for me, and it was for people like me, and it was for people that are watching this movie and need that moment. It's for people that love the A-Force and want that callback to it. There's a reason for it, and people are mad about it because that was just in there to make a statement, and it was.
It was a badass statement.
It was a statement worth making.
Yeah.
And I just want to like meet the Russo Brothers and say thank you for that, because they knew people were gonna be mad about that. They know what the fan base is. They know people aren't gonna love that, and they chose to do it anyway because they also know people are gonna love it.
Well, I think the good thing that the Russo brothers did in this movie, it's an Avengers movie, and you're taking characters that everybody holds dear and then throwing them together, and you need to make things amplify certain things, and you need to sacrifice other things. But like my two favorite characters in the MCU are Star-Lord and Thor. And I felt like they were done perfectly, and like the Lebowski reference was for me. So if people didn't like that one, like I got some. If anything, I walked away with little parts for me too. So everybody got to walk away with parts.
Did Star-Lord get like anything though? He had like 2 lines.
His dancing scene, for him to see
kneed in the balls twice.
And his line from getting kneed in the balls. Like I love Star-Lord. He didn't come out.
You missed it the first time.
Yeah, you missed it.
You got both the second time.
So I really am glad that. I hope that everybody who got there left with things for them, and that's the gift that you expect from an Avengers movie. So like,
100%. I mean,
it can't all be for you. There's parts that are for you, and then there's parts that are for other people.
Yeah,
I think I happen to be one of those people that all of this was for me.
I agree.
I'm
I'm
one part that I was like
fanboy.
unhappy. Like I love the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like the A-Force thing I think it was awesome the way they did that. I thought it was just. Yeah,
I don't know that we've come far enough that they're ever going to give us an A-Force movie.
No, but
someday maybe
those of us that know
yet.
A-Force, like we were able to be like, hey, that's pretty dope.
I don't know. We got honestly, we got Captain Marvel. Like I think we can because
we're closer.
We're closer than we were, but I think there's a world of difference between a single female lead movie and a female team movie. People will get pissed.
I think
it's hard to understand because like we're not angry internet incels, so we don't understand.
And that's the thing though. I think also the majority aren't angry internet incels. That's a vocal minority.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
A very vocal minority.
Because here's the thing. I'll be honest. Like even me, like Captain Marvel's not one of my favorites, but I do really like her. I thought her movie was gonna be successful. I did not think it was gonna make $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Once it made $1 billion, I was like, they're gonna do an A-Force.
I hope
she
so.
made $1 billion. They're gonna do an A-Force. Like
I hope so. I think it's even like it's not even just like the fan reception to it. It's the willingness to fund something like that. And we've seen for the last 50 years that Hollywood doesn't want to fund movies that are run by females for females. They don't think they'll make money. So as much as we can hope that Captain Marvel is going to be the catalyst for us to be like, that's not the case anymore. Yeah. It is still a deep-rooted thing in Hollywood that people just don't want to fund those things. So hopefully it'll change.
Call me naive. I think Disney, if anybody's going to make it, and we've seen with them picking Brie Larson and as vocal as she's been, I think if there's one thing that's going to, and they keep talking about changing things, there's one place that's going to do it.
Put your money where your mouth is. Do it, Disney.
Pretty much.
So we move on from there.
Yeah,
that amazing scene.
So we get the fight. So we get the awesome fight of them basically helping Captain Marvel pave the way to get to the tiny time tunnel. And I just came up with that. And we get the
which
the
is
face
all
off
for naught because it just gets
Yeah.
exploded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we get the face off between Thanos and Carol. And
it does not go the way he thinks it's gonna go. He's like confused. Why is this one person able to stand up to me like
and
this?
she just looks at him and just smirks. And then
Oh,
he
after
pulls,
the headbutt you're talking about?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then he pulls kind of a being Thanos, like it was actually a badass move. He pops the Power Stone out, catches it in his other hand, takes the power and just boom and
Punches
just
her right
clocks
in the
her.
face.
Yeah.
I
Nice
was like,
move.
you know what, sir? I got to give that to you. That was awesome.
Nah,
Yeah.
That was a good
He
move.
pulled a little
Yeah.
Arya Stark move.
Yeah,
right
he
there.
did.
That's exactly what
Exactly
I
what
said.
he
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the knife. So Carol's down. Tony musters what little bit of power he has left, and Thanos is now standing up with the gauntlet, with the stones.
My dog is snoring underneath the table, if that makes it to the microphone.
With the stones in it. Tony flies over.
Wait,
And
before that, though, one of my favorite moments of the movie is Tony looking at Doctor Strange.
oh
Oh
yeah,
my God.
You know, since the last movie, we've been talking about the 14 million different sequences, and there's only one where they win.
only one where-
and
yeah.
and
He gets that look.
Strange, it's like that moment in a football game where you know the guy's going to hit the goal line, because once Doctor Strange says one, holds up the number
Yeah.
one, everybody just knows, like, oh shit, this is it. Like,
this is it.
we're gonna win.
And Tony
And-
knows what he has to do.
And Tony knows
Yeah.
what he has to do, and he now knows why Strange saved him in Infinity War.
He asked him too, and he was like, he asked him how it was going to
Yeah.
go, and he's like, I
If I-
can't.
if I tell
If
you,
I
it
tell
won't
you, it
happen.
won't
What was
happen.
and super true, because there was another one of those timelines where he probably told him at that moment, and then Tony
Right.
fucked it up. You know?
Yeah, well, because then going back to Curtis's point earlier, his callback where Cap says you're not the one to lay down on the wire and has the other man crawl over you. It's like, no, I'd rather just cut the wire. So if Tony knew going into it that that's what he was supposed to
try to
do,
find a way
he would
out.
try and find a way
Especially
out of
with
it,
his daughter now.
especially
Yeah.
with his daughter now.
Morgan?
But so Tony jumps up, goes after Thanos. We see him tussle for a bit. Thanos seems to easily shake him off, and
And he's
looks
like
up.
struggling to get the gauntlet.
He's struggling to get the gauntlet. Thanos shakes him off. He gets up. He has the gauntlet. He snaps and nothing. Snaps and then nothing. And then he turns it over and you see the stones are gone. Tony is over there. He's on his knee with the stones in his hand. Clenches his fist. Boom. Snaps.
But what does he say before he does?
Oh my God, that's right. I
Because
can't believe I forget that.
Because Thanos looks him in the eye, and
Oh,
he's
he
about
says-
getting ready to snap, and he says, "I am inevitable," and he snaps, and nothing fucking happens.
And he
So
looks
Tony
him in
looks
the eye.
him dead in the eye.
I am Iron Man. Boom. It snaps.
It ends
And-
where it began.
And it ends where it began.
Perfect.
So it snaps, and all of Thanos' forces just start turning into dust. And Thanos, you see Thanos lasts long enough to see his entire army fall.
Yeah, he's like Peter.
Yeah.
Peter.
It
He's
takes a
like
while.
Peter. Takes him a minute.
Takes a knee, and he's just like, well, it was a good effort. Like, I wish there was a way to see what was going on in Thanos' mind at that point, because I don't know. Like, I think that was the one time where he had to suffer with the defeat and loss.
Yeah.
But he's obsessed with death and the things, so like, it's crazy. You can't really beat Thanos. He has that kind of mentality where it's what he was happy to die, I'm sure, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Because
know.
now he's not burdened with the knowledge anymore of
Yeah.
the resources.
or the
yeah.
burden, I'm sure.
So,
Wow.
and then we pan and we see the aftermath of that. Because
Of
we
what
already
that did to
know,
Tony.
based on what, Hulk was saying earlier is,
Oh.
I'm the only one that could withstand this, and then look what happened to him. So we see Tony, and Tony, he's basically...
He's
He's
charred.
fried. He is charred.
Barbecue chicken alert.
Oh, too soon, bro. Too soon.
Shaq don't care.
So he has the
And
moment
so-
with
Peter.
Peter
Peter.
is reversed.
Fucking
He's like, no,
heartbreaking.
that one killed me because when
It's like,
Peter
oh my
died
God.
in Infinity War and Tony's holding him and he's just saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And then he's holding and looking at Tony while he dies and he says, don't go, don't go, don't go.
Yeah.
And that like, cause it's not it's not the main thing that he says, but he says it and it's like, if you catch that, like that breaks your heart. And then Pepper has to come in and remove him. And she's like, she's gentle. Like she's like, I understand this is hard for you, but this is my husband and I need to have this moment.
Yeah.
Like I need you to go, sweetie.
So she has her moment with
So
him.
sad.
And hers is good too because she doesn't mourn him. She doesn't cry. Like she
She's
doesn't.
like-
She just says you can rest. Like you did it. You saved us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry.
I know.
It was good because he couldn't
hit-
rest once he figured it out.
Yeah.
And that's what she told him, right? She was like,
She's like, You can rest now.
Yeah, because he could not rest in the house, and that was literally the question. Like, can you rest if you do that? If you throw it away and just look away?
Yeah.
She knew.
So
But Pepper always knew. Like,
Yeah.
Pepper was always ahead. That's how she was able to deal with that man, because she was always ahead of him.
Yeah.
So that was, I think that was the perfect end for Tony. That was how it had to
Absolutely.
go. You can't, because you can't leave this story and leave him alive and just write him out, because there's not a chance that he's going to stay out of these things.
Yeah.
So you have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find a way to do that, and you have to find a way that's fitting to the character. And I think this was the perfect end for his character.
I think what they did too in this, like, it's Marvel, it's movies, so there's always ways to keep our affection and love for these characters alive in some capacity. Like with him, he could have easily uploaded his brain into one of the computer systems to give guidance, hopefully.
Well, and that's,
Hopefully many
what
years
happens in
down
Civil
the
War
road.
too.
Well, and that's what happens with Ironheart. Ironheart's
Yeah.
Jarvis is Tony.
Is Tony, yeah.
Yeah.
So they could easily bring like Robert RDJ's Iron Man days. Well, hopefully he gets a rest. Like I hope
Yeah.
this guy gets a break, and that when he gets brought back, it's a treat for like the
And he
next
gets to
generation.
do the Paul Bettany, where he doesn't actually have to come on set and do
Yeah.
all the work. He just,
Well,
you know,
Dude's
sits in a
getting
booth and
old.
records.
Yeah, he's getting super old, and he's put in 11 years of really good work. So I hope he gets a break,
Yeah.
and they don't just like bring him in the next movie. I hope in 5 years we get some Tony Stark back or some references, and you know we're all going to be looking at each other in the theaters like this was our generation. Because like the way I'm looking at these Marvel movies is this is ours.
Yeah.
Like now there's new kids, you know, the new, like how old were we? 15, 19, like we were our teens when these
14.
things started, 14 for Emma. So now I'm hoping that the next movies, these 14-year-olds are going to get 11 years worth of content like we did. And we'll be there watching them still too, and they still
Yeah.
mean a lot to us, but they're not going to understand the originals like we do.
Yeah.
And when we see RDJ come back for a voiceover or a nod to, or Steve Rogers or some of these characters, I'm getting choked up right now just thinking about how I'm gonna feel in 11 years when they cut back to something that, you know, was important to us.
Get ready
Yeah.
to get choked up more, because something just dawned on me this very moment. And he got to keep his promise from Iron Man 1.
Yep.
And he didn't waste his second chance at life.
Yep.
Yeah,
He
definitely
actually
didn't.
saved everybody.
Do you want a lighter topic for a moment?
yeah.
So I have logistical questions.
Oh god. Here
about
we go.
dusting. So when Tony snaps and brings everybody back, do they come back where they disappeared?
I would have thought so. Yeah,
So
because
what
Peter
happens-
Parker says.
Yeah. What happens if you were on a plane when you got dusted? Do you come back in the middle of the sky? If you were on a cruise when you got dusted, do you come back in the middle of the ocean and drown?
Shit.
Do you just fall from the sky if you were flying somewhere?
Stop it, Emma.
I have
don't want to
questions
think
about how
about
this
this.
works.
No.
If you were
Poking
on
holes
the,
in
if
it.
you were
You
like
go to your most
driving-
recent save point.
If you were driving on the freeway,
When you respawn.
Yeah.
That's how it
do you,
always
do
happens.
you think
Where
there's
did
like
you set home?
Wherever your bed is.
Where your bed is. That's where you appear.
Do you think people are driving on the streets right then, and suddenly people just pop up in the street and they all get run over by
Stop.
cars?
I don't want to think about it.
I have questions
I
about
got a
how this
logistical
works.
question. How is Obadiah Stane and Lebowski exist in the same universe? Like that's when we need to really.
Boom. So we cut to voiceover, Tony's voiceover, basically saying his goodbye. And you see, you know, everybody has kind of gotten home and they're with each other, and there's fireworks, everybody's celebrating, and it cuts to the funeral, the memorial, and it's Tony is he basically recorded a video because he kind of thought that things might go sideways. So if they did, he had this video for everybody, and it's basically him saying like it's okay, like this is, you know, like we, you know, move on from here and da da da. They
I love you
I
3000.
love you
yeah.
3000.
and
Did you just set that up where he was like, I need you to put the hologram here and sit my daughter right here so that when I say this, I'm looking at her. Because what if she was sitting on like the other side of the room?
It would have been awkward.
he said that to Happy.
Yeah, he goes up to Happy.
So then we get the, you know, we get the pan of
Everybody that's there at the
that's
funeral.
there, and it just kind of goes through, and you see every person that we've ever
They
seen.
brought back Harley.
Mm-hmm.
I could not fucking
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
I didn't even
know
recognize
who
him.
it was,
I didn't-
who it
yeah,
was when I
she,
first
I had to
there was
Google
another
it.
time where she's like, "Oh my god, it's the kid from Iron Man 3."
Yeah.
I could not believe, because I was like, who is it? Because it was like, he's in the back, he's not quite in focus, and I'm like trying to think, I'm like, who the fuck would that be? And once he's in focus, I'm like, oh shit.
Dang.
At first I thought it was the kid from when Scott first comes back and he stops the kid in the middle of the street. He's like, hey, what happened? And
That
the
kid
kid
on the
just
bike.
looks.
Because that kid had like a long shot on him. I was like, am I supposed to know who you are?
Yeah.
So I thought it was
Right.
him, and I'm like, okay, so there he is again. Something's gonna happen with him in Phase 4. There's something about him.
So he's there. Carol standing in the back like a badass in her
Yeah.
pants,
Right.
in her pantsuit that I loved.
Oh my god.
That was a
Fury
good
is
look.
there.
Fury is there.
pops
For
up.
his, okay, so this was one of those, like, I'm watching this scene, and Fury's there for a split second. Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas are there for a split second. How much do you think these people got paid
CGI.
to be in a movie for, like, 0.2 seconds? Do you think they got, like, $800,000? Do you think they got, like, $2 million?
I think they were CG.
They still have to pay to use their likeness.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But,
yeah.
like, how much?
Oh, a lot.
I have questions.
So
I didn't realize
More
until the
than I'm
end
gonna make
credits
this year.
how many fucking like just incredibly gifted like
How
high tier
epic it was.
A-list actors
Yeah.
we got in this movie.
Did we talk about
itself.
Robert Redford coming back too? To be
Oh,
here?
right, for like a split second.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in
With
the
the
beginning.
hair?
I was like, you got Robert Redford twice?
Yeah.
Damn, Disney, you can do anything.
Yeah.
That's crazy. With the hair.
With the
So,
hair.
yeah,
then we
so
get
after...
we get that really nice scene with Happy and Morgan,
Yeah,
and
and her
he's like,
cheeseburgers.
"Oh, are you hungry? What do you want? A cheeseburger?" And it's like, "Oh God."
Your
Can't
dad,
never
like,
eat
I'll
that.
get you all the
One.
cheeseburgers you want.
Oh,
Burger King.
and then God, yeah. Okay, and then we get to the moment with Clint and Wanda.
Oh yeah.
And they have a really nice moment together, and then we're like,
Because
okay,
Vision didn't come back. Damn.
Yeah.
No, okay, I don't accept this. All right, this story is not done because we have to figure out what happened to Vision. Because Vision is not gone. Okay,
Can't be gone.
he is not
Can't be.
gone.
How are they gonna bring him back though?
I don't
Without
know.
the stone, like
I don't know.
WandaVision's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. He's got to come back. We'll see him. It's gonna, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Y'all can shut your fucking mouths.
so then we cut to we get the
know who you are.
Professor Hulk, Cap, Bucky, and
Falcon.
and Sam.
Getting ready to take the stones back.
Cap's getting ready to take the stones
This
back.
is the most
taking
obvious scene.
I didn't know.
You didn't see this coming?
Hey,
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir.
How many times have you seen these movies?
I don't know.
Why
Meow,
is
meow.
this a problem?
Take Meow Meow
It's a
back
silent
and
J.
the stones. Well, I'm not saying Mildger. I know the J is not the.
Where do you think the J is in that word?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say
if
that's
it's not clear, I clearly don't know the word now. Like it's never gonna be clear to you. Anyway,
it's all right, David. We still
so
love you.
she.
Don't
he
work at
said-
IKEA, David. Just stay away from IKEA and you'll be just fine.
I can put the furniture together. I can't pronounce the furniture.
It's just fertile.
Yeah. So Cap says his goodbye to Falcon. He says his goodbye to Bucky, and Emma had pointed out when you talked about this before how much longer the
His
goodbye
to
was to
Bucky
Bucky.
was.
And then there's another callback. And Cap says, "Don't do anything stupid until I get back. How can I? You taking all the stupid with you?" And it's a good callback
Yeah.
to the reverse situation and first Captain America. So Cap gets up. I didn't even think about him taking the hammer back.
Yeah.
Like he was taking it back. I thought like he lost
That's
his
just his
shield.
thing now?
Now he holds it. Now he
Now
has
the
the
God
hammer.
of Thunder.
Because even hang on, real quick, rewind to the battle scene, and like you see Cap and you see Thor, and like they both reach a hand out and grab, and then so Cap has Stormbreaker, Thor has the hammer, and he's like, wait, no, hang on, give me that one. You take the tiny one.
That was good.
It was great. So he's like, all right, so how long is this going to take? Well, it's going to take 5 seconds for us, but however long it needs to take for him. So, all right, 3, 2, 1, boom, Cap is gone. He's like, I'm bringing him back in 5, 4, 3, 2, nothing. Where is he? I don't know. He missed his time thing. And then that's when Bucky looks
and then
over
it
and he
pans
goes,
back, and
hey,
there's
Sam.
a
And
real
Sam
old
walks
man
over, and there he
sitting on
is,
the
sitting on the bench.
Yeah. Captain
So
Steve Rogers.
they walk up, and Bucky's like, here, go ahead. And so Sam goes up, has a good conversation with Cap, gets the shield,
Yeah.
Captain America.
Yeah.
and so we know who's carrying on the mantle, and now we know what Falcon and the Winter Soldier show is going to be about.
Yeah. Captain America and Bucky show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was, and that was another ending, much like Tony. We got the ending for him. This was the perfect ending for Steve.
This was everything I wanted.
He got to go. He did his duty. He saved the world time and time again.
Yeah.
And he was able to finally live the life that Tony said that he should have
And you know
so
what?
much.
I don't
so
even
many
care about
times.
Cap in this moment because Peggy Carter always deserved better. And she finally got her better.
She
and
got
I'm
Cap.
so happy for her.
Yeah,
she
that was
has.
good.
Oh my God, I can't. I live for Peggy Carter. Margaret Carter. I
Yep.
live for her, and she
Margaret
finally
Peg.
got everything she deserved, and I'm so happy about it.
It's a beautiful moment with the song.
She
and
got
then-
America's
Yeah,
ass.
she got America's ass. So he says, you want to tell me about her because Sam sees the ring. He's like, no, I don't.
No.
I don't think I do. And then it cuts to back, 19, 40s,
And now you know why he
or
don't want to
1950s.
tell him, right?
Yeah.
It's because he kissed her granddaughter.
Oh, yeah.
Grandniece.
Grandniece, that's right.
Yeah.
And he was in the car watching him.
Oh, that's
Oh
right.
yeah,
Remember?
that scene. He looks back and Bucky and Sam are just.
Yep. That's why I don't want to tell her.
And then,
tell him.
That's beautiful.
That's when it ends,
storytelling.
right?
No, there's one other thing.
What's the next thing?
How about it ended with him and Peggy dancing?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we skipped the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, we did.
Oh,
We
right.
did.
Yeah.
So that's when Thor passes on the mantle of King of New Asgard to Valkyrie.
Or Queen in this
Queen.
case.
Queen.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I
And-
think in Norse tradition, you're a king regardless of if you're a man or a woman. Regardless of gender, you're a king.
King.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, there you go.
There
So
it is.
King, Valkyrie, and then he goes, besides, it's fine. I have a ride. And then you cut to Rocket going like, we gotta get. He's some smart ass remark about we gotta get going, and then we get that scene. I'll let you tell it, Corey, because
Well,
this is for you.
This was for me, everybody. This was my part because actually taking my two favorite franchises now
Yeah.
with I've always loved the Thor movies, but Thor Ragnarok kicked it up to exactly where I wanted it to be,
Right.
and then Guardians of the Galaxy is just my end all be all as far as these Marvel movies goes, and I love bearded fat Thor, so now they're taking bearded fat Thor and making him part of the Guardians for
Which-
the next
You
movie.
think he's gonna use Quill's Bowflex?
He might use it more than Quill did.
I do
You know
hope
what?
they
This
kind
is a
of
wake up call. I'm gonna get a Bowflex. I'm gonna commit.
I'm gonna commit. But get some dumbbells. You can't eat dumbbells.
we got I think their chemistry from the first Infinity War was great in the
Oh,
scene
yeah.
that they had where he started talking deeper,
Oh, yeah.
because he was threatened, and now they're gonna play on that even more hardcore because they're already fighting over who's the actual leader of the Guardians.
No.
So
You're the leader.
I think you guys should fight to the death for it.
Hey,
No, that's not
wait,
necessary. We all
not
know who the leader is.
we all know
It's
it's me.
it's me. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes,
it's
of
you. Of
course.
course.
So. Is
And
this,
he's looking
is
for
this-
Gamora. He's
Yes.
looking
For Gamora.
Which is another thing I'm not entirely certain I understand. Because, now past Nebula is dead, but present Nebula is alive. But present Gamora is dead, and past Gamora is alive. And it's a mess.
It's confusing.
That's
and
the time frame, the timeline thing.
what's
Yeah.
that movie where Rachel McAdams gets in a car accident and can't remember things?
Yeah.
The Notebook.
No.
No.
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it because I don't remember what the fuck it's called. but
Time
I
Traveler's
remember-
Wife.
That's the movie with Canada's
No.
ass.
Canada's ass.
Well, one
Gosling.
of Canada's asses. Two Ryans.
The Vow.
The Vow.
The
Okay,
Vow.
that
I had
sounds
to look
vaguely-
it up real quick.
That's a fucking Nicholas Sparks book, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah, fucking romantic. movie.
It's got her and Venom in it,
Chills.
and she ends up going through
Tom
the...
Hardy's in that?
I think so. Oh, no, it's Channing Tatum.
I was like, bullshit.
Oh, Gambit.
Bullshit, Tom Hardy's in a Nicholas Sparks movie.
No, it's
Magic
it's
Mike?
Magic Mike.
Magic
yeah.
Mike.
That I can see.
So she has amnesia or whatever, and they were in love at one point. They're about to get married, and then she has amnesia, and they got to figure out, or she's got a lot of shit to deal with. She doesn't remember him, but he loves her. So it's an interesting dynamic. I think that'll be a good storyline to go and explore with those
50
two
First
characters.
Dates.
That's exactly where my
Oh,
mind
there we
went.
go. Yeah, that's even probably a more recognizable.
But
thing.
with the most dangerous woman in the galaxy.
Yes.
Who will kill you. If you
isn't there a line where Thor is either part of or works with the Guardians?
He just referenced as Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a current comic run, but
Oh, is
it
it?
does not have them in the lineup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway.
Actually, I think Asgardians of the Galaxy is currently an all-female lineup, actually.
Are they really?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it didn't set anything. I mean, in some ways it set things up for what's coming up next, but more importantly, it tied a whole bunch of loose ends for a whole bunch of characters and really kind of it ended things more than it started new things.
I expected more deaths than we got. Because we only, when you think about it, we got 3 deaths. And I did expect kind of more than that.
3 like permadeaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were a big one. Well, 2 of them were big ones.
I didn't expect more than that. I honestly didn't expect Nat until the scene was coming.
Right. I was pleasantly surprised with Nat.
I wasn't expecting that. I wouldn't have been surprised if somehow they wrote her off another way, but I was not expecting a death. Cap and Tony, I was prepared. I was prepared for that. But the others, I weren't. Most of the rest of them are too new or have future plans.
Clint has a show. So that's another thing is so Clint has a show coming up, the Hawkeye show, and that the rumor is that it's him training a protege. And so I got really excited that we were going to get Kate Bishop. I want Kate Bishop. But given how they started the movie with him teaching his daughter and she hits a bullseye, I was like, if you take Kate Bishop from me and you make it his daughter, I will lose my mind. If you get me this close to Kate Bishop and don't give me Kate Bishop. And like on one level, like it's just changing the name of the character. But on another level, because that's what I thought at first. I was like telling myself, well, okay, well, it's just changing the name. Is that really a big deal? And the more I think about it, like, yeah, it is. Because when you change it to his daughter, you drastically change the dynamic between these characters and the way they interact. And I'm really hoping that's not what they do. I'm really hoping they still go with Kate Bishop and not his daughter. But so it sets up.
He wouldn't want his daughter doing that shit anyway.
That's what you'd think.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So it sets up for Falcon to be Captain America and for him and Bucky to go on their adventures. It sets up for the Loki show. Whatever.
Spider-Man.
It sets up for Spider-Man that we're gonna get in just a couple months.
God, his like reunion with Ned.
Oh. So this was another one of those things that it's like oddly convenient, because if you watch the Far From Home trailer, basically all the kids that had speaking lines in his class are in Far From Home.
They all snapped.
So you have to assume they all got snapped and they all got placed back into the same class.
That's so comic. That's comics though.
It's just
100% comic
oddly
books.
Convenient.
They just do that. Yeah. That's
so because you got to assume that Ned got snapped because they just missed 5 years of school.
The last thing you kind of want is the Avengers movie to fuck up everything that people love about the Spider. Like if you just love Spider-Man, and you don't really care too much about the other stuff. You come back and you're like, oh, now all like half the dudes I loved are gone. Like,
well, you could have gotten away with like snapping Ned and Michelle. Or MJ, but like maybe not necessarily everyone else.
I think Curtis, me and you were talking about this at the very beginning before they got here too. Like, so far, you guys don't watch trailers, so never mind.
For what?
Spider-Man.
Oh, I mean, I've just seen the first one.
Okay. Well, so they only show how many people? They show just.
I only remember seeing MJ, Ned,
Flash, the blonde girl.
I don't remember seeing the blonde. Who was the blonde girl?
The one that in Homecoming, she's the one that's on like the news channel that the school has. Because anybody that had speaking lines in Homecoming is back.
Oh, okay.
For the most part,
see,
like those
I didn't
kids.
I didn't see the young black boy that everybody thought was Miles. I didn't see him.
Young black boy, who?
The one that they he was in Homecoming. He was he had. Remember when they were ringing the bell and he was like, I don't know. You'd have to just see him. But everybody thought he was Miles Morales.
Gotcha.
He was part of that team.
The like decathlon team.
Yeah, he was part of it.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because my whole thing was I was like, I'll give you a limit of 10 people of those kids that got snapped. You go. That's my hard line. You go
and
above
then, I mean, they had the
Yeah.
teacher there as well, but like that. I mean, even if he wasn't snapped, you'd probably be at the same job 5 years later. Like that's
Yeah.
fine.
teacher. Yeah.
So, but yeah. So logistical things aside, Emma.
I have I should be hired as a consultant on these movies of like, let me tell you the things you need to address outside of this.
Her title is just actually.
Well, actually, how dare you? I've never mansplained
VP of
anything in my life.
actually.
I'm not a mansplainer.
So and that
Here's the thing.
comes to an end.
Here's the thing.
Of a 11-year, 22,
22, I believe.
22 movie saga.
Although for some reason, Endgame is not the end of Phase 4.
No.
Far From
Far
Home
From Home
is.
is, yeah.
Which,
Far
like,
From Home is
why?
And Far From Home takes place days, weeks.
I think they said it's minutes after. Like it
Is it
starts.
minutes?
It starts up like minutes after the end of.
Probably
Endgame.
where it probably picks up where we see Peter and Ned meet back up.
Yeah.
It probably picks up around there.
And there,
So-
the whole thing is like, let's just get the fuck out of here.
Well,
Yeah.
and something that we talked about today that I didn't realize until today. Oh, you weren't
That wasn't a
there.
part of this conversation.
Ned is Hobgoblin.
Yeah, you're talking about. The
I didn't know
comics.
that
Yeah.
until today.
Yeah,
His name, Ned Leeds.
yeah,
His name, he's Hobgoblin.
yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
shit.
what?
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, y'all.
Because
I
Ned is
did
from the
not-
Ultimate Universe. Like
I
Ned,
did not
Ned
know
is
that
not
until
Peter's
today.
friend in the comics. Ned is Miles Morales' friend in the comics.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I saw it today and I was like, how
So-
the fuck?
Yeah. But anyway, so now that we recapped the entire movie and
Kind of talked
given
about our thoughts
reviewed,
on it.
yeah. So Emma and I think we've kind of said mostly what we think about this
Yeah.
already. But so if you, Curtis, Corey, we'll have you guys go first. If you guys had to give this a rating, we'll use 1 to 10, I guess, or however you want to do it. The great school grade scale. What would you guys give it?
I already said I'm giving it a 13 out of 10. For
13
like
out of 10.
For me, it was just like I feel like Infinity War was the last one where it was like we're going to really focus on like making it such just a great movie that like whether you are or aren't into this, if you come and just watch it for a movie, you'll be compelled. There's a compelling villain. Here's a not so common ending. You know, those things to kind of all right. And then this one was just for. You know how everybody, you know, for you, yeah, everybody had. This one was for us. They rewarded you,
Yeah.
for watching all the movies that y'all just
Yeah.
rewatched over again.
Yeah.
I literally feel like the Russos and Marcus and McFeely walked up to me and was like, "Thank you. Here's this, and this. We appreciate you." I literally feel like they just like fan service in the highest degree.
Yeah.
I'm a real fan, so I'm just like, thank you, like just. Thank you for I so many things I never ever thought I'd ever see, like ever. I was talking to my roommate. I was like, "Did you ever even think we'd see the Avengers on screen together?
No.
Did you ever think like Thanos and
Well,
all
like,
this crazy stuff?"
Look all the way back to Iron Man 1.
Yeah,
we talked
did
about
you
this
think about
before.
that? Yeah.
And he says, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. And just that sheer, like, oh my God.
Right.
And even then, even when you got to Avengers.
Yeah.
I remember walking into that theater and my dad having to explain to me what the Avengers Initiative meant.
Nice.
I didn't know.
Right.
Really?
Right.
So
right.
I knew enough to be like, holy shit.
Mhm.
This is going to be insane.
Then you go today and I'm a much bigger fan than he is.
And you know what the
Right,
crazy part
that's
is
crazy.
too? Like, because I read this article about like improv scenes and stuff like that, and different behind the scenes stuff. And one of the things that the article talked about was the fact that when they put Thanos in at the end of Avengers, that was just hey, you know what'd be cool is if we put Thanos in here.
They didn't
had
even have it all planned out. No.
They did not have it planned out at that point
Yeah.
on what they were gonna do.
Now, what's funny is if you go back and look, you can
It
tell
looks very
because
different.
because
Exactly. Then
because there's
starting in
certain
phase
things.
2,
Yeah.
they start like, okay, let's piece this together. Let's piece that together.
But even me,
But-
like looking back like that, I'm just like, I see that y'all didn't have it planned out. But here's the thing: the second that y'all got an idea, you're like, okay, look,
worked.
and
they-
they made it work.
They kind of retroactively made it work throughout. Because like if you don't really look for it,
Yeah,
it was just like one seamless thing.
yeah, totally.
It's just great. Corey,
Perfect score.
perfect
Yeah,
score.
100%, 10 out of 10, S tier, S plus, like whatever you want to give it on any scale, just a perfect score. I don't think there's anything wrong with this movie. There's, of course, I'm very much easy to suspend my disbelief on things like, the time travel stuff and the little odds and ends. I think in this one, the ends justified the means. Like, they did what they needed to do to give everybody their moments and let everybody shine the way that they needed to. That was true to the story. Things that were like you guys said, were insignificant had huge payoffs. You know, like Curtis said, I did not see them making good on all these little promises, and I think it all is culminated in that feeling you got when you saw Cap wield the hammer.
Yeah.
Like that was a throwaway
God
little
damn.
scene where it just wiggled a little bit, and that paid off better than anything I would have ever could have dreamed to see. And they killed the characters that they needed to give. What the best part is that it knows when to get out, and I'm more excited for the future now to see what characters pop up and start taking lead roles. And like I said with Captain Marvel, like I thought the original movie was middle of the pack, and I thought that they didn't let her come in here and dominate the thing, but it made me say, like, damn, in the next series, I'm really excited to see what she's going to be, because she's obviously going to be the leader of this thing. And then now you're thinking they're bringing in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and you already have this pillar character that's going to be kind of guiding them all, and you still got the Guardians hanging out there. Thor's still around. I think it was a great ending, but now I'm even more excited, and I the way I'm seeing it as this is for the next gen.
Yeah.
Like they put a bow on the story that was
The Infinity Saga.
the Infinity Saga, and then now the kids of the tomorrow are gonna have the pleasure of growing up with this new universe.
Something about Thor being in the Guardians that I have not seen anybody on YouTube or anything talk about. The interesting thing is, what was the last thing that they seeded in a post-credit scene in Volume 2?
Adam Warlock. I was like, what are we talking about?
When Adam Warlock first appears in the comics, he fights Thor because he kidnaps Sif.
Yeah.
And Thor goes in.
Sif, who is just apparently non-existent in the MCU.
Now we know why.
Yeah,
Adam kidnapped her.
She might be back now.
Because we haven't seen her since Dark World. She was not in Ragnarok.
Nah.
She was in
Not in
Agents of
this.
Shield.
She got a.
That was after
she
Dark
got
World,
that
though, wasn't
TV.
it? Or before Dark World.
Oh, I think
That was
Jam-
before Dark
Jamie
World.
Alexander got that TV show, and I think that's why they said there was really issues
She's
last
just not
time.
in the MCU anymore. Sif does not exist.
Nah, and they said I heard her contract is pretty ironclad, and they didn't let her out of it to go and
To do this.
Yeah.
So, Emma, rating.
We just had this discussion. I
I-
had a
I-
very. This is not right after. So we had this discussion right after we saw
Yeah.
it. So it's been a couple days now. So I think I'd probably give this like a 9, like an 8.8 to 9. Sorry, that was my phone. Because I loved it. I loved it from a personal standpoint. Like, I just fucking, it was perfect. I'm gonna see it many more times. But it was slow in the beginning. I had my complaints about that. I had my complaints about some of the confusing bits or plot holes that were kind of left in there. But it was just so good.
Yeah, I think for me, I would give it a minus, 9 out of 10. And I didn't care about it being 3 hours. I think that it being 3 hours was needed in the sense of if it was just another hour and a half, 2-hour movie, I don't think that it would have been doing justice to
Well, and they
what
haven't
it
had
was.
a movie that short in like 10 years.
Well, so like 2 hours, even 2
So
hours
if
was
it
Captain Marvel.
If it was 2 hours, so Infinity War was 2 hours and 42 minutes. Like, that would have been a fine. Like, you could have cut, you
guess
could have found 18 minutes to cut out of this movie.
You
I
could
think
have.
it would have been fine.
But I think
wouldn't have wanted
instead
that
of,
job.
Instead of them cutting time, I much rather would them have them shift, utilize the time a little bit better.
And that's
That
fine. Like,
would've
I
been
would
fine.
be fine with a 3-hour movie if it didn't,
If
if
it
it wasn't
didn't-
slow, if
right.
it didn't drag, if the pacing was better.
But that being said, I mean, like, that battle scene alone,
So good.
the references, the nostalgia, everything about this movie was just phenomenal. It was great.
I love how at the beginning of this we were like, yeah, we'll just spend 30 minutes, for a Patreon exclusive. Just to let
It's
you
been
guys
like
know,
2 hours.
this is 2 hours and 25 minutes.
I'm so tired. It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
We
I'll
have,
go home.
we have to get the fuck out of here, guys.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this
I gotta go to my
recap.
sister's house still.
I think, definitely we'll be talking on our regular podcast just about all the news that's coming out of this, heading into the next generation. And what's the appropriate time to start talking about, like, semi-spoilery stuff?
I wouldn't do spoilers until it's out on DVD.
On DVD? Yeah, so...
Or at the very least, like, 2 months
But
at the least.
There's going to be, like, news stories like the Russos saying that they're done with Avengers for, I think the Russo Brothers are done.
Did they say that?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
they said that they have.
No, they did say that
No.
they did say that they're done.
Well-
It was in an interview. They said we have no other movies, no other like our
they're
contract
so
is
So,
up with
good.
but
Marvel.
that doesn't mean that they're done. That just means there's no plans for them to do
For
one
right
in the
now,
future.
yeah.
So that,
They already said that they'd come back for Secret War.
Yeah.
Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars.
Ooh. So, like, stories like that we'll obviously be covering. But thank you guys so much for checking this out. We're going to go...
Go home.
we're going to go and...
I gotta go check on my sister's cat.
Later, guys. Peace.
Peace.